Chapter 1476. Shi Yiqing once again made a copy of the directional ball and handed it to Lan Shu before saying, "If you see Ningcheng one day, please help me pass a message to him." After Qianghua entered the Grand Change Realm severing emotions samsara Dao, she never came out. "Qianghua? It's Ningcheng's." Lan Shu took the directional ball and did not have the time to thank him, as she asked in amazement. After she arrived at the Tian continent, Ningcheng had already left the graceful Star mainland. Although she had never met Shi Qianghua, she had heard about Ningcheng and Shi Qianghua. "Yes, Qianghua is a disciple of my 9 revolving sacred Dao pond. Just like you, she's a person of Ningcheng," Shi Yiqing explained. "Senior, Ningcheng and I aren't that kind of." Shi Yiqing waved her hand and interrupted Lan Shu's words. She then took out a sword talisman and handed it to Lan Shu. "Although my strength isn't too bad in the Grand Essence realm, if I go to the vast void, my strength would be nothing more than a firefly. This sword talisman doesn't belong to me. It's just a protective treasure that I obtained by chance. Since you're looking for Ningcheng, I'll give it to you as a little more protection." "Many thanks, Senior." Lan Shu quickly put it away and thanked her with a bow. She couldn't be polite about it. Going to the void to look for the severely injured Ningcheng was already a matter of life and death. If she had a sword talisman to protect her life, she would be a lot safer. Dao Lord Ning's immortal cave is in the Grand Essence Mountain, which has now been renamed to the Mysterious Yellow Sect. If you need help, you can go to the Mysterious Yellow Sect. Shi Yiqing seemed to like Lan Shu a lot, and once again gave Lan Shu some pointers. Lan Shu didn't want to go to the Mysterious Yellow Sect. She and Ningcheng were friends, but she didn't know anyone else in the Mysterious Yellow Sect. Although Shi Yiqing's cultivation couldn't progress even an inch, her vision was definitely top-notch. She only needed a glance at Lan Shu to know that Lan Shu had no intention of going to the Mysterious Yellow Sect. Thinking of Lan Shu's low strength, she sighed. If she didn't improve Lan Shu's strength and left the Grand Essence realm to look for the chaotic void, she feared that it would only bode ill for her. "Lan Shu, do you know the burial shadow Blue Sands?" Shi Yiqing suddenly asked. Lan Shu nodded. "I know. I heard that it is one of the most dangerous places in the Grand Essence ruins. I heard that the burial shadow fiends are from the mysterious of the burial shadow domain. Does Senior think that I can enter the blue burial shadow sand?" Previously, when Lin Yun had said that he wanted her to form a team to go to the buried shadow Blue Sands, Lan Shu naturally knew about this place. Shi Yiqing smiled faintly. "If you entered the burial shadow Blue Sand with your previous strength, you would be courting death." The burial shadow Blue Sand is one of the Grand Essence ruins' forbidden areas. Even with my cultivation, I wouldn't enter it easily. But now is indeed a good time to enter the burial shadow Blue Sand. "Why?" Lan Shu asked in doubt. Shi Yiqing explained. "You know that Dao Lord Ning went to the burial shadow Blue Sand to look for his friend Qi Shixingsing. However, he ended up being stopped outside the burial shadow Blue Sand. Dao Lord Ning flew into a rage and brought millions of Dao court troops to besiege the blue burial shadow sand. At the same time, he activated the devouring Grand Array to completely erase the blue burial shadow sand from the Grand Essence ruins. At first, the existence within the blue sand of burying shadows had fought against Dao Lord Ning, but after Dao Lord Ning had devoured nearly half of the blue sand of burying shadows, the burial shadow fiend panicked. He had taken the initiative to ask Dao Lord Ning for peace, and had even given Dao Lord Ning's friend away. But Dao Lord Ning took into account that he wasn't that strong at that time, and let go of the blue sand of burying shadows. I originally guessed that Dao Lord Ning would come back to erase the blue sand of burying shadows after he reached the Grand Essence realm. But I never expected that Dao Lord Ning would never return after leaving the Grand Essence realm." Hearing about Ningcheng's heroism in the past, Lan Shu felt proud of Ningcheng. But then she thought that Ningcheng might be in the void with severe injuries, which made Lan Shu even more anxious. Shi Yiqing could see Lan Shu's anxiety, and took the initiative to comfort her. "After so many years, if something happened to Dao Lord Ning, it wouldn't matter how anxious you are. With your cultivation, even if you have the directional ball I gave you, it's not realistic to go to the chaotic void. I hope that you can go to the blue sand of burying shadows first, and improve your strength before going to the chaotic void. But senior, Lan Shu didn't understand Shi Yiqing's meaning at all. Shi Yiqing smiled, because after the chaotic inner realm opened, the strongest burial shadow fiend in the blue sand of burying shadows left the grand essence realm. He went to the chaotic inner realm. Therefore, although the blue sand of burying shadows is dangerous, it's not as dangerous as before. But there are many treasures in there. If you can get some treasures in the blue sand of burying shadows and successfully reach the Tao sculpting realm, you can go to the chaotic void. At that time, your chances of survival would greatly increase. Lan Shu immediately bowed and said, "Many thanks for senior's reminder. This junior will prepare to head to the Grand Essence ruins." Sharpening a knife wouldn't delay chopping firewood. Lan Shu understood it very well. "Do you want me to go with you?" Shi Yiqing asked again. Lan Shu shook her head. "This junior can go alone. Senior can accompany me once, but you can't accompany me for the rest of my life." Shi Yiqing nodded with satisfaction. If Lan Shu agreed to let her accompany her, she would have been very disappointed, because Lan Shu wouldn't be able to find Ningqing even if she went to the void in the future. "Then I wish you good luck. I'll be leaving first." After Shi Yiqing finished, she took a step forward and disappeared without a trace. Lan Shu bowed again before looking at the seat where Nalan Rushua had sat and shook her head. "You really aren't suitable for Ningqing." Blue sand of burying shadows. It was one of the most terrifying forbidden areas in the Grand Essence ruins. It was said that only a few people could come out alive after entering. But because there were too many treasures in the blue sand of burying shadows, many people still entered without fear of death. Lan Shu stood outside the blue sand of burying shadows and looked at the rolling blue sand in the sky. She took a deep breath and then rushed into the blue sand of burying shadows without hesitation. If she wanted to improve her strength as soon as possible, she had to enter the blue sand of burying shadows. If it were before, with Lan Shu's strength, entering the blue sand of burying shadows would only result in death. However, Shi Yiqing didn't lie to Lan Shu. Once the most powerful burial shadow demon left the blue sand of burying shadows, the chances of coming out alive greatly increased. It even increased to more than 50%. As soon as Lan Shu entered the blue sand of burying shadows, the violent rolling blue sand immediately suppressed her spiritual consciousness. Before entering this place, Lan Shu had already prepared herself. Therefore, despite being suppressed by the endless blue sand, she still chose a direction and rushed forward regardless of anything else. This was something that Lan Shu had already planned before entering the blue sand of burying shadows. Too many people had entered the blue sand of burying shadows recently. Even if there were any good things in the periphery, they would have already been taken away by others. How could it be possible for her, Lan Shu? She intended to continue walking forward in this manner. After walking for thousands of years, she would eventually be able to find a place that no one had ever been to before. Maybe there were people who thought the same as her, but certainly not all of them would think the same way. Once she chose a direction that no one had ever come to before, she would have succeeded. After the location of the chaotic void was exposed, more and more people came to this place. Although there were a lot of people, but there were not many people who could find the chaotic inner realm of the chaotic void. Not everyone had the ability of the 10 Tao monarchs or the 5 sacred masters. Many people had wandered around the chaotic void for many years, but they still did not know the true location of the chaotic inner realm. There were even a lot of people who came in, but found it difficult to find the exit. "Is this the chaotic void?" A woman holding a fly whisk asked in disbelief, as she looked at the irregular space around her in confusion. Another woman beside this woman spoke up. "It's normal. The heaven and earth laws here are chaotic, and the God's spiritual chi is scattered everywhere. Moreover, the aura of broken laws is everywhere, which fits the characteristics of the chaotic void. Moreover, the void here is very condensed. I'm afraid that ordinary people would not be able to tear it apart. Kaiji, I'm afraid that only a few people can cultivate to your level in the martial Tao. Do you think you can tear the void here with your bare hands?" The woman holding the horsetail whisk asked. The woman called Kaiji smiled. "I can't tear it apart. But your fellow villager can easily tear it apart. The woman holding the horsetail whisk also chuckled. She had heard the word fellow villager from Kaiji. Xiaoshuang, tearing the void here is nothing. I heard that when the chaotic inner realm first opened, that man called Ningcheng managed to tear apart the void of the chaotic inner realm despite being seriously injured by 4 peerless powerhouses. This is what it means to be truly powerful. When will I have this kind of ability? I feel that my martial Tao will be truly successful. Kaiji sighed. Chapter 1477. Master, it's here. Chasing Bull pointed to the boundless gray planet in front of the vast void and spoke with excitement. One couldn't blame it for being excited. In this void, the planet moved. After so many years, it was already a pleasant surprise that it could still find this planet. Ningcheng also saw this boundless planet and patted Chasing Bull's head. Not bad. It looks like you've made some progress. You can even remember this kind of thing. Chasing Bull got its master's praise and excitedly stopped the starry sky wheel on the surface of the planet. When Chasing Bull controlled the starry sky wheel to land on the planet, Ningcheng's spiritual consciousness swept out and felt shocked. Although he suffered heavy injuries and his sea of consciousness was damaged, his spiritual consciousness still remained strong. Yet even with such a powerful spiritual consciousness, he couldn't sweep the entire planet. The only thing he could sense was that this planet was vast and uninhabited. Not only was there no people, but there was also no water, no living creatures. There was only a piece of hard gray rock. Chasing Bull, this is a good place. I'm afraid it will take many years for me to integrate the primordial Tao charm here. Moreover, there might even be some big movements during this process. You're too weak. You should enter the mysterious yellow bead to cultivate now, and try to step into the Tao transformation realm after I integrate the primordial Tao charm. Ningcheng said with a solemn tone. Chasing Bull could tell that its master wasn't joking this time but was really serious. Even if it didn't want to cultivate, it had to agree. Master, rest assured. I will definitely cultivate in the mysterious yellow bead. Ningcheng nodded. If you can step into the Tao essence realm after I complete the integration of the primordial Tao charm, I will allow you to wander around the heavens beyond mysterious yellow alone. If you can reach the Tao transformation realm, I will allow you to follow me without entering the mysterious yellow bead. Otherwise, you can stay in the mysterious yellow bead and cultivate slowly. Chasing Bull nodded dispiritedly. Yes, master. After sending Chasing Bull into the mysterious yellow bead, Ningcheng didn't even arrange a spirit gathering array. He had yet to recover from his injuries, so even if he arranged a spirit gathering array, he couldn't arrange a high-grade spirit gathering array. Furthermore, trying to gather any god's spiritual energy in this part of the void was simply a fool's dream. Ningcheng didn't care. He didn't want rich spiritual chi for cultivation. What he wanted was to integrate the primordial Tao charm. As long as he could sense that trace of spirituality from the creation of the world through the primordial Tao runes, he might be able to improve further. In this empty void, after Ningcheng put away the starry sky wheel, and Chasing Bull entered the mysterious yellow bead, the area returned to its previous tranquility. On the huge gray planet, Ningcheng carefully grabbed the strand of primordial Tao charm, and slowly opened a restriction around the primordial Tao charm. His consciousness then seeped into it. A vast aura that transcended the ancient times permeated into Ningcheng's consciousness in a flash. At this moment, Ningcheng felt the birth of primal chaos and the will of a powerhouse that transcended everything. Just when Ningcheng wanted to continue comprehending the primordial Tao charm, the primordial Tao charm suddenly erupted with endless primordial chaos universe origin. Metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, thunder, snow, light, darkness, void, life and death, movement. As long as the origin existed in the vast universe, it would suddenly burst out from this primordial Tao charm. At this moment, Ningcheng felt as if he was stuck in front of the door of a burning gunpowder warehouse. It was torturous and unbearable. It felt as if the gunpowder warehouse would explode into pieces at any time. Ningcheng's heart sank into an icy valley. If the primordial chaos universe origin aura from the gray stone was like an egg hatching when he reached the third step, then this was the planet exploding. Ningcheng stimulated the potential of his life to integrate, dissolve, and comprehend the primordial chaos universe origin aura. but it was still a drop in the bucket. He could imagine that it was only a matter of time before his entire body was blasted into pieces by this origin power. Ningqing couldn't help but feel a kind of sadness in his heart. Ever since he obtained the mysterious yellow bead, he had been cultivating like crazy. From the graceful star mainland to the vast starry sky, from the vast starry sky to the grand essence realm, from the grand essence realm to the heavens beyond heaven, and even to the light and dark universe. He had obtained too many opportunities along the way. Although he suffered heavy injuries this time, he still managed to grab a strand of primordial chaos Dao charm in the chaotic inner world. So what if he grabbed the primordial chaos Dao charm? Wouldn't he still fall under this primordial chaos Dao charm and be torn into pieces by the endless origin power? Normally, it would be difficult for him to obtain so much chaos origin power, but now he had obtained so much. If he had had so much origin power before, why would he need to look for the 5-element origin bead? Compared to the origin bead, this chaos origin power was purer. At this time, even if he wasn't injured, he wouldn't be able to resist the erosion of this origin power. In the end, he would be torn apart by this origin power and turn into the origin power of the vast universe together with the primordial chaos Dao charm. Perhaps after hundreds of millions of years, this vast void would turn into a world with vitality because of his fall today. After all, he had brought with him endless origin power. Only with this origin power could various heaven and earth laws and various life auras be derived. After an unknown amount of time, Ningqing finally reached his limit. Puff blood qi burst out, and an origin power that Ningqing didn't have time to refine finally tore Ningqing's skin, bringing out a bloody mist. Just like a chain reaction, with the first one, a second one followed. In just a few days, Ningqing's body had turned into a bloody mess. At this time, Ningqing had lost too much essence blood, and his face had turned bloodless. Although he was about to be torn apart by the primordial chaos Dao charm's endless chaos origin power, Ningqing still didn't give up, and continued to contain the endless chaos origin power. In his mind, unless he fell or lost his consciousness completely, he wouldn't give up any chance of survival. As his body grew weaker and weaker, Ningqing finally felt a sense of vitality in the primordial chaos Dao charm. That is, he didn't need to fuse and refine the primordial chaos Dao charm anymore. As long as he integrated himself into the primordial chaos Dao charm, he would step into the supreme realm. It looked the same. One was to fuse with the primordial chaos Dao charm, and the other was to integrate himself into the primordial chaos Dao charm. However, Ningqing's consciousness told him that this was different. Refining and integrating the primordial chaos Dao charm was what he wanted to do, but integrating himself into it was an additional consciousness, not what he wanted. Even if Ningqing died, he would never become a great Dao machine. Once he integrated with the primordial chaos Dao charm, even if Ningqing lived, he would only become a great Dao machine. At that time, there would no longer be any emotions in his eyes, no joys and sorrows. There would only be the great Dao. This wasn't his Dao. His Dao first needed him to exist. If he didn't exist, then he wouldn't need this Dao. If he died, then so be it. As an earthling, he had lived for so long, seen so many things, and learned about the endless universe. Whether he lived or died, he was still Ningqing. Just like how he didn't cultivate avatars, he Ningqing was unique. No one or Dao could replace him, not even his avatars. Time passed slowly, and on this uninhabited gray planet, Ningqing finally lost consciousness. But he hadn't fallen yet. In his subconscious, there was still a powerful willpower. This willpower prevented everything from integrating himself into the great Dao. This willpower supported him, even if there was only one last second left. Perhaps Ningqing's willpower was too strong, or perhaps the impact of the primordial chaos Dao charm's origin only stopped here. Under the impact of the primordial chaos Dao charm's origin, Ningqing's broken body finally fell into balance. This balance was the result of Ningqing's own willpower, and the endless origin that gushed out of the primordial chaos Dao charm. Neither side could win. Ningqing's willpower couldn't refine the primordial chaos Dao charm and integrate it into his own great Dao. Moreover, the primordial chaos Dao charm couldn't destroy Ningqing's willpower and integrate Ningqing into the primordial chaos Dao charm. Everything came to a standstill. Every moment, the origin that Ningqing integrated with turned into Ningcheng's vitality. Then, this vitality was washed away by the new primordial chaos Dao Charm's origin, turning into a blood mist that sprayed out from Ningcheng's wounds. Year after year, the blood mist around Ningcheng's body never stopped, and it constantly dyed the hard rocks around him red. The blood-red color spread out from Ningcheng's body, and the range grew larger and larger. Chapter 1478. Maybe it was 1,000 years, maybe it was 10,000 years. Even Lan Shu herself did not know how long she had been wandering in the burial shadow blue sand. In these years, her cultivation had not advanced, but her strength had risen sharply. Shi Yiqing did not lie to her. She had encountered many dangers here, but she had never met a burial shadow demon like the rumors outside. If she really met a burial shadow demon, Lan Shu estimated that with her strength, she would die without a doubt. Lan Shu had already prepared herself for falling in the burial shadow blue sand. Although she was not the weakest among the people who entered the burial shadow blue sand, she was definitely one of the weakest. The blue sand whirlpool in the burial shadow blue sand, the blue sand evil spirit that had yet to form a burial shadow demon. Lan Shu had encountered all of these. Although she was almost forced to use up the sword talisman that Shi Yiqing had left for her several times, she eventually kept it. Although she did not fall, Lan Shu did not feel much joy. Over the years in the burial shadow blue sand, she had obtained some opportunities, such as some divine grasses and precious materials. It's just that these things were still far from what she wanted. What she wanted was to obtain some opportunities here, and then quickly improve her strength. No matter how bad it was, she had to succeed in her Dao sculpting. Unfortunately, there was only one choice to enter the burial shadow blue sand. With her strength, as long as she came in, wanting to go out again would be too difficult. Jiangmuru. A shrill cry came. Lan Shu's entire body felt like it was frozen in ice, completely sluggish in the middle of the blue sand. Was this a burial shadow demon? She had not encountered any danger for so many years, but this Jiangmuru cry made Lan Shu realize that she was still in the burial shadow blue sand. Here, the most terrifying thing was not the blue sand, nor was it the shielded spiritual consciousness, but the burial shadow demon. A burial shadow demon that could call out Jiangmuru. Even if it was a Dao Essence Holy Emperor, if they were unlucky, they would find it hard to escape. And what cultivation did she have? She had not even entered the Dao sculpting realm. The surrounding space turned violent. The most powerful blue sandstorm whirlpool that Lan Shu had seen before was not even 1% as powerful as this. An oppressive aura permeated into Lan Shu's mind, making Lan Shu feel as if she was suffocating. Lan Sha congealed into a huge shadow that rolled towards Lan Shu. But before it even got close to Lan Sha, the domain that surrounded Lan Sha was already torn to shreds. The only thing Lan Shu could do at this moment was to crush the sword talisman in her hand. This sword talisman was obtained by Shi Yiqing, but Shi Yiqing had never used it before. Originally, Shi Yiqing intended to give it to Lan Shu, and let Lan Shu enter the void to use it. Shi Yiqing wanted to give it to Lan to enter the sword. Lan Shu had just crushed the sword talisman, when a vast and boundless sword Dao aura rose up. This sword Dao aura, in just a twinkling of an eye, transformed into a long sword condensed from the Dao charm. The long sword stabbed out from Lan Shu's hand, and the raging sword Dao aura seemed to drive everything within the Grand Essence ruins. Lan Shu's sword Dao aura easily tore through the void of the Grand Essence ruins, and the violent sword Dao aura raged out. Lan, the sword to Shu to the sword. Lan the shadow the to no Tian. The not to shadow. Lan looked the burial Shu's killed, the Shan easily destroyed. Lan Shu stared at the burial shadow demon in front of her and murmured, so powerful. But that wasn't all. As the sword Qi rampaged, the void-tearing aura grew stronger and stronger. In just a few breaths, the sword Qi tore open a huge void sword gate in front of Lan Shu. The Grand Essence Realm's heaven and earth laws, under this sword, turned into paper paste. Outside the sword gate, Dao charms surrounded it like a whirlpool. A sword intent Dao charm beyond Lan Shu's understanding seeped out of this huge sword gate. It was vast and majestic, with a sense of vicissitudes and ancientness. Is this an inheritance sword talisman? Lan Shu instantly understood that the sword talisman Shi Yiqing gave her was an ancient inheritance sword talisman. Most likely, Shi Yiqing didn't know that this sword talisman was an inheritance sword talisman, which was why she gave it to her. After the sword talisman was activated, a void teleportation sword gate appeared. Lan Shu took a deep breath. She only hesitated for a moment before stepping into the void sword gate formed from the sword talisman's Dao charm without hesitation. The burial shadow blue sand indeed had many treasures. However, her cultivation was too low, and there were too many people here. Even if a treasure appeared, it wouldn't be Lan Shu's turn. She had wandered around here for thousands of years, yet she still couldn't find anything. Moreover, she was almost killed by the burial shadow blue sand. She might as well go to this inheritance sword gate and see if there were any new opportunities. Lan Shu had just stepped into the sword gate when she felt dizzy. At the same time, the sword gate disappeared from the burial shadow blue sand. Not knowing for how long, Lan Shu finally opened her eyes. When she saw everything around her, she rubbed her eyes, thinking that she was seeing things. At this moment, the space around her was filled with sword intents. It felt as long as she moved, all the sword intents would crazily descend and cut her into pieces. Lan Shu stood there for an entire day, before she took a step forward. Since she had already come here, if she had to die under these sword intents, then even if she didn't take a step forward and stood here for a lifetime, the sword intents around her would not weaken in the slightest. Just as Lan Shu's step landed, the surrounding sword intents suddenly opened up a passage. Lan Shu hurriedly sped up and walked through the passage. When she walked through a door at the end of the passage, she suddenly froze. Even if she was a fool, she knew where she was. This was a side of the world, a side of the real top-level world. The laws here were complete, even more powerful than the Grand Essence Realm's heaven and earth laws. In her spiritual consciousness, in addition to the endless top-level spiritual objects, there were only a few pet beasts that were kept in captivity. Lan Shu didn't dare to look inside. At this time, how could she not know that this world had a master? At this moment, Lan Shu was most worried about whether the master of this world had fallen or not. However, she guessed that most of them had fallen. Otherwise, why would they leave behind a sword talisman inheritance? Whether they had fallen or not, since she came here, she might as well go in and have a look. She already had the heart to die, so what else was there to be afraid of? Apart from the door that she had just passed through, the only residence that her spiritual consciousness could find in this place was a small thatched cottage. Lan Shu walked over and pushed open the door to the thatched cottage. Inside the thatched cottage, apart from a pale white long sword suspended in the middle, there was nothing else. The long sword exuded a kind of murderous aura that disdained the heavens and earth. This kind of aura gave Lan Shu a sense of incomparable self-confidence and power. It felt as long as she had this sword in her hand, she could split apart the entire universe. This was a peerless spirit sword. Even if she hadn't obtained this sword, Lan Shu already understood. She had gone to the vast universe to search for the chaotic void, which was exactly what she needed. With the low-leveled weapons on her, going out into the void to face those powerhouses was undoubtedly a pipe dream. Lan Shu stepped into the thatched cottage and raised her hand to grab the pale white long sword, when a sudden message appeared in Lan Shu's mind. As long as you hold this sword in your hand, you will definitely kill a person. Lan Shu suddenly froze. If she had to kill an enemy, then it would have been fine. But if she had to kill a person who had nothing to do with her, would she really have to kill him? Lan Shu quickly calmed down. How big was the vast universe? How old was it? She did not know how many hundreds of millions of years this sword had existed. Even if the person she wanted to kill was still here, she would not be able to recognize him. Since she had obtained the inheritance of this senior, then why couldn't she get rid of this senior's enemy? Thinking till here, Lan Shu suddenly spoke in a clear voice. If Lan Shu meets this person in the future, and can kill this person, Lan Shu will definitely kill him. If Lan Shu is not his enemy, then there is nothing I can do. Lan Shu did not swear an oath, but what she said was from the bottom of her heart. In the vast void, there were hundreds of millions of cultivators. In this world where the strong were revered, It was inevitable that there would be two completely unrelated life and death enemies. Since Shi Lanshu had chosen the path of cultivation, she could not avoid this kind of thing. Just as Lanshu's voice fell, the white longsword suddenly fell into Lanshu's hands. A vast and boundless aura surged out. Lanshu felt that her whole person and the surrounding world had changed. She looked down at the sword hilt, which was engraved with two ancient characters, Yuan Tuesday. Chapter 1479. The Chaos Void was no longer the Chaos Void of the past, and the Chaos Inner Realm was no longer the Chaos Inner Realm. The Chaos Inner Realm had been bombarded into smithereens by waves of experts who had come in search of treasures. The Chaos Inner Realm, which had already been chaotic to begin with, was now even more lawless. Even the 10 Dao Lords and 5 Sacred Lords had been unable to tear the Chaos Inner Realm apart when they had joined forces. Now, a casual bombardment could tear a tear in the Chaos Inner Realm. The Chaos Inner Realm was so tough that it could only be considered an ordinary plane. Two women were chatting as they strolled through the Chaos Inner Realm. Xiaoshuang, we came too late. Even if there was anything good here, it would have been taken away by those who came before us. After so many years, I've only obtained a fragment of a Chaos Gem. Kaiji, you should be satisfied. Do you know how precious a Chaos Gem fragment is? I have never seen such a treasure since I entered the 33 skies. You're different. You're a monk and everything else is meaningless. I get jealous whenever I see something good. You're a monk. Who told you that holding a horsetail whisk makes you a monk? The woman called Kaiji suddenly looked at the woman holding the horsetail whisk in surprise. Xiaoshuang, so you're thinking of a man. Is he from my hometown? According to the usual procedure, the woman called Xiaoshuang would definitely ignore Kaiji. However, Xiaoshuang sighed today. I'm not fated with him. That's what my master said later on. What about you? You're probably thinking of love, right? Anyway, you're almost done cultivating. You can find a man to warm your blanket with, Kaiji asked. Xiaoshuang glared at Kaiji. I think that people from Earth are all glib. None of them are good people. If you're thinking of love, then so be it. Don't blame me. Kaiji said nonchalantly. With my looks, I'm afraid I'll be alone for the rest of my life. I cultivate the martial Tao, so I have no attachments. Thinking of love. Before Kaiji could finish her sentence, an earth-shattering explosion was heard. Following this earth-shattering sound were several cries of surprise. Xiaoshuang and Kaiji stopped talking at the same time and scanned the area with their divine senses. Both of them exclaimed almost simultaneously, the origin aura of the primordial chaos. Not only was it the origin aura of the primordial chaos, but it was also not just one type. It seemed to be endless. In the next moment, the two of them flew over without hesitation. Although there were many good things in the chaotic inner realm, because they had come late, they did not obtain much. The origin aura of the primordial chaos was a treasure among treasures in the chaos inner realm. It was hard for the two of them not to be excited when they found it. When the two of them got closer, they realized that there were already dozens of people gathered here. Not only that, but more people were coming over. The two of them knew what was going on the moment they saw what was going on. Someone must have been fighting here, which caused a rift to appear in the chaotic inner world. Then the people fighting sensed the endless primordial aura from the crack. As a result, they stopped fighting and wanted to tear the crack open as soon as possible. Then they would go in and find the source of the aura. Needless to say, this was a peerless treasure. After understanding the situation, Xiaoshuang and Kaiji did not hesitate to join the team to blast open the crack. Although the chaotic inner realm's laws were broken, and it was not as hard as it was in the beginning, it could not be broken easily. Dozens of people joined in and bombarded the wall for a long time, but they only managed to make the crack a little bigger, or create a few more cracks in the surroundings. It was still a long way to go before they could tear this place apart. Many people understood this logic. Some people had already stopped attacking, and some even suggested attacking in batches. However, no one paid attention to this proposal. Who knew which group of people would attack in batches when the crack opened? Once this place was opened, the group of people who were attacking would be the first to enter and obtain the treasure. No one paid attention to this proposal, and everyone just continued to attack. Some people began to use tricks and were unwilling to go all out. However, no one was willing to leave this place, even if they knew that they could not break through this void domain in a short period of time. The reason was simple. The endless primordial aura was constantly seeping out of this crack. Everyone who stayed here was looking forward to breaking through this void realm and entering to obtain the treasures. Xiao Shuang, I really admire that Ningqing now. I only knew that there was a huge gap between us before, but now I know that the gap between us can't be described as huge. The woman named Kai Ji said to the proud Xiao Shuang, holding the fly whisk after bombarding the crack with her Dharma treasure. Xiao Shuang understood what Kai Ji meant. With so many people working together, they would not be able to blast open the void realm here when the chaotic inner realm was completely unstable. Ning Cheng was severely injured back then, but he still managed to blast open the void realm of the chaotic inner realm. How powerful was he? Xiao Shuang smiled slightly. Your fellow countryman can do it too. Kai Ji also smiled. He doesn't have to do this. I'm afraid no one would dare to plot against him. Xiao Shuang shook her head. You're wrong. Although Sect Master Yi is strong, he can't do this. You know who came to the chaotic void. Even if you didn't know before, you should know now. The 5 sacred lords and the 10 Tao lords. Which one of them isn't a powerhouse that can shake the vast universe? I'm afraid none of them are weaker than Sect Master Yi. Kai Ji chuckled. Xiao Shuang, I finally believe that you really don't think about my fellow countrymen this time. Otherwise, you would definitely think the same as me. Xiao Shuang said helplessly. No matter what, the disciples of Clear Dream Mosque will not lie through their teeth. You're not a disciple of Clear Dream Mosque now. While the two were talking, another woman walked over from the void in the distance. This woman wore a gray robe and carried a sheathless white sword on her back. When this woman came over, not only Kai Ji, but everyone else also felt a little dazed. Although this woman wore a gray robe, no one could ignore her stunning appearance and peerless youth. Xiao Shuang, this woman is so beautiful. I'm afraid only Sister Bingyu can compare to her. Kai Ji exclaimed, feeling an inexplicable sense of envy in her heart. She had an impressive figure, but her appearance was very ordinary. She had gotten to where she was today by sheer hard work. But which woman did not envy others' beauty? No matter how strong her cultivation was, she was still a woman. Ling Xiaoshuang, who was with her, was considered beautiful, but compared to the gray-robed woman in front of her, she was still lacking. The cloth-robed woman stopped, her eyes swept towards the crack that was created by the explosion of the crowd, and suddenly asked, Senior Apprentice brothers and Senior Apprentice sisters, I am called Lan Shu. May I ask, does anyone know where Ningcheng was plotted against? This person was Lan Shu. After obtaining the Yuan killer sword, she once again obtained the Sword Dao inheritance. In just 70,000 years, she directly stepped into the Dao integration realm from half-step Dao sculpting. When she stepped into the Dao integration realm, she thoroughly understood why Nalen Rushua was far inferior to her back then. But after she came to the Grand Essence realm, Nalen Rushua became much stronger than her. That was because of opportunities, inheritances, or luck. When one's cultivation was low, one could rely on their own efforts. But when one's cultivation reached a certain level, hard work and opportunities were equally important. If she, Lan Shu, hadn't obtained the Nameless Sword Sage's inheritance, not to mention 70,000 years, even if it was 700,000 years, or even 7 million years, she wouldn't have been qualified to step into the chaotic lands. Unfortunately, after she stepped into the chaotic inner realm, she still didn't have the slightest clue after so many years. Kai Ji took the initiative to speak up. Everyone knows that Dao Lord Ning was plotted against here. It's just that no one knows where Dao Lord Ning was plotted against. Lan Shu sighed in her heart, and was about to speak when the void suddenly exploded with a boom. A vast and majestic void aura mixed with the endless primal chaos origin aura gushed out. It's opened. No one knew who said this, but at this moment, almost everyone rushed into this strange void. This is the primordial chaos Dao charm aura. A trembling voice screamed. He couldn't control his excitement at all. What would happen if one obtained the primordial chaos Dao charm? Even without this person saying it, almost everyone here felt the primordial chaos Dao charm. Although Lan Shu had been looking for the place where Ningcheng disappeared, it didn't mean that she didn't care about these treasures. With such a majestic origin aura gushing out, and the primordial chaos Dao charm aura, Lan Shu also rushed over. However, everyone was blocked outside a gray planet in the void. On this gray planet, there was a person sitting cross-legged on the ground. To be precise, it was a bloody person sitting cross-legged on the ground. Even Kaiji, who had experienced countless voids and planets, couldn't help but scream at this moment. She had never seen such a tragic situation. A person's blood had almost dyed the entire planet red. The boundless essence blood Dao runes seeped out from this gray planet. A purple Dao charm with some golden light surrounded this person, and this person's body was still constantly spewing out blood mist. So miserable. Ling Xiaoshuang was also shocked. However, more people's eyes were red, and they were also shocked. They weren't shocked by the misery, but by the endless treasures. The endless origin aura, the endless blood essence Dao charm, the endless primordial chaos aura. Only Lan Shu had tears streaming down her face. She recognized that it was Ningcheng. No matter how long she hadn't seen him, she still recognized him at a glance. It was as if the boy next door with low cultivation, who called her elder sister Shu, was standing in front of her again with unswerving determination in his eyes. When she was paralyzed and couldn't move, it was that boy next door who saved her. Back then, every man who wanted to see her coveted her beauty. Only that boy next door brought Yu Chen's golden axe and returned it to her. Now, the blood that flowed from that boy's body dyed more than half of the planet red. Sorry, your elder sister Shu is late. Chapter 1480. In just a breath's time, almost everyone took out their Dharma treasures and attacked. Although the barrier of the Dao runes outside the gray planet was weak, it could not be broken in a few breaths' time. Moreover, there were only a few people in the first wave of attacks. I know he's Ningcheng. I've seen him in the beyond of heaven and earth back then. Someone immediately shouted. Dao Lord Ning? Although some people had never seen Ningcheng, they had heard of his reputation in heavens beyond. The Dharma treasures in their hands paused. They hesitated about whether they should participate in the attack or not. Ningcheng's reputation was too great. Although he was seriously injured, he was obviously not dead. Once they offended Dao Lord Ning, Ningcheng would be able to escape this calamity in the future. There was only one consequence, and that was death. Not to mention before, even in the chaotic inner world, how could it be easy for Ningcheng to snatch a strand of primordial Dao charm? They had heard that those who snatched the primordial Dao runes in the chaotic inner realm were top-notch people like the 10 great Dao lords and the 5 great sacred masters. Is Ningcheng? Kaiji recovered from her shock and looked at the blood-stained half of the planet. She was even more shocked. He kept refining and integrating the primordial Dao runes, which then turned into vitality and essence blood. The aura of the Dao runes was too strong and violent, so he couldn't refine it all at once. As a result, it tore open a wound on his body and spurted out the vitality that had been transformed into essence blood again. Ling Xiaoshuang, like many people, could see Ningcheng's situation at a glance. Boom. The cultivators who were hesitant about Ningcheng's reputation only hesitated for a moment before they once again took out their Dharma treasures and attacked. No matter how famous Ningcheng was, he was about to die. What was there to be afraid of? Crack. The defense of the Dao runes on the gray planet was weak. Now that so many experts attacked at the same time, this simple defense of the Dao runes was easily shattered. Hundreds of experts swarmed forward, and Lan Shu was ahead of everyone else. An incomparably surprised voice called out from the crowd, but Lan Shu at this time wholeheartedly wanted to take away Ningcheng. As such, she simply did not care about the people around her. Although Lan Shu was strong, but her cultivation was not the strongest in this place. There were at least several third-step existences who had condensed a false realm. When they saw Lan Shu rushing to the forefront, they simultaneously acted as if by prior agreement. Although they did not use their full strength, but with several people attacking Lan Shu, even if they could not take Lan Shu's life, it was more than enough to bind Lan Shu. Lan Shu wholeheartedly wanted to save Ningcheng. As such, even though she managed to block most of the attacks, they still landed on her body. When she opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood, she had already fallen behind. Boom, several more attacks followed, and the defensive realm domain in front of Ningcheng once again shattered under the bombardment. Several people rushed towards Ningcheng and even raised their hands to grab him. At this time, the people who wanted to capture Ningcheng all had the same idea, that was to capture Ningcheng, and then escape first. Ningcheng slowly opened his eyes with extreme difficulty. Even if he was completely exhausted, he could still sense his realm boundary being blasted open. Seeing several powerhouses rushing over, Ningcheng showed a trace of self-deprecation at the corner of his mouth. He then raised his hand and drew out several ripples of Dao charm. If he had not been injured, these powerhouses would have been ants in his eyes, existences that he could pinch to death with just a raise of his hand. But now he drew out several ripples of Dao charm to attack, which almost drained his vitality. Puff! Several blood mists sprayed out. Ningcheng's attack directly tore apart the defenses of these powerhouses who rushed towards Ningcheng, causing them to suffer some minor injuries. When the people who followed behind saw that Ningcheng could still make a move, they immediately stopped in their tracks. Ningcheng's prestige in the heavens beyond was too great. Since Ningcheng could not resist, everyone wanted to go up and snatch him. Once Ningcheng had the ability to resist, they would have to wait for others to attack Ningcheng before going up to reap the benefits. Who among those who could cultivate to this level was not a shrewd person? For a time, no one rushed over. When Lan Shu rushed up again, she rushed to the first place. This time no one stopped Lan Shu. All the people were looking forward to Lan Shu taking the lead. As such, Lan Shu easily rushed to the front of the group. Lan Shu did not care about what the cultivators around her thought. She was so anxious that she almost went crazy. A cultivator's blood had almost stained half of such a majestic planet. How terrifying was that? Even if one could survive after that, his foundation would be damaged. Ningcheng reluctantly opened his eyes again. He slowly raised his hand. Even if he had the last bit of strength left, he would not give up without a fight. Ningcheng, your elder sister Shu is late. Elder sister Shu must save you. Lan Shu came closer, and was able to clearly see Ningcheng's badly mutilated body, as she spoke in a choked voice. Elder sister Shu, am I dead? Ningcheng muttered to himself in a daze. His consciousness gradually went blank. Seeing Lan Shu appear, if he was not dead, then what was he? How could Lan Shu appear in this place? Ningcheng's mouth revealed a sad smile. Before he died, the person he saw was not Luofei, Qianghua, or Yanji, but Lan Shu. Then his head tilted to the side and he no longer moved. Lan Shu felt shocked in her heart. She raised her hands and picked up Ningcheng. At the same time, she shot out several restrictions to imprison the primordial Dao charm surrounding Ningcheng. She then turned around and walked away. The primordial Dao charm surrounding Ningcheng had been around Ningcheng for tens of thousands of years. However, the violence within it had already been worn away, and Lan Shu even managed to imprison it. The surrounding cultivators were stunned. It was not until Lan Shu rushed away with Ningcheng in her arms that they reacted. They immediately rushed towards Lan Shu, wanting to intercept Lan Shu. At this time, even the weakest cultivators could see that Ningcheng did not have any strength to resist. Lan Shu had taken advantage of him. At this moment, Lan Shu simply ignored the attacks coming from behind her, and used all her strength to escape. As soon as Ningcheng left, the endless origin aura also disappeared. Everyone had been struggling for a long time to obtain the origin aura from the primal chaos opening. At this time, no one was willing to give up. Almost everyone chased after Lan Shu. A youth with a slightly pale face looked at the place where Lan Shu disappeared. He remained sluggish for a while before following closely behind her. There were also a few cultivators who seemed to know that their strength was too low and didn't chase after them. They stayed behind to refine the Dao charm from Ningcheng's blood that dyed the gray planet red. But after a while, they were disappointed. No one could seize even a little bit of this Dao charm. Perhaps there was another way to do this, and that was if they also fused with a part of the primordial Dao charm. But what was the primordial Dao charm? If one had the primordial Dao charm, who would be willing to come to this place? After understanding this, The few cultivators who stayed behind also chased after them. If they chased after them, they might have a chance to obtain the origin aura. If they didn't chase after them, then there would be no hope at all. Lan Shu took the first step. There were almost no laws in this part of the void. Even people stronger than Lan Shu couldn't catch up with Lan Shu in a short time. Similarly, those with weaker cultivations than Lan Shu didn't fall behind by much. It's just that Lan Shu's cultivation was limited. She couldn't get rid of all the people behind her in a short time. In this way, one person escaped in front, while nearly 100 people chased after her. After a few days, because Lan Shu had never escaped beyond the range of control, no one gave up chasing after her. Even Ling Xiaoshuang and Kai Ji were far behind them. But at this time, Lan Shu felt that something was wrong. The primordial Dao charm surrounding Ning Cheng seemed to have seeped into her Dao charm. At this time, she was running away and couldn't deal with it at all. Lan Shu felt extremely anxious. Just when she was about to burn her essence blood to escape, she suddenly felt that Ning Cheng, who was lying in her arms, seemed to have started to fuse and refine the primordial Dao charm. At this time, because the primordial origin Dao charm continued to seep into her body, Ning Cheng no longer spat out essence blood due to the primordial Dao charm. Lan Shu felt happy and no longer had any thoughts of pushing out the primordial Dao charm. If she could help Ning Cheng relieve the pressure, she would naturally help Ning Cheng. Another half a month passed, and Lan Shu unexpectedly felt the primordial Dao charm permeating into her Dao charm. It even started to cleanse her own Dao charm aura. Moreover, her cultivation and perception also continued to rise under this cleansing. Am I going to refine and fuse with the primordial Dao charm? Lan Shu felt shocked and quickly looked down at Ning Cheng. Although Ning Cheng's body was still covered in blood, it had clearly started to improve. Lan Shu gave out a slight sigh of relief. At this moment, her Dao and Sea of Consciousness simultaneously gave out a caw-caw sound. The next moment, she caught hold of the endless Dao charm. The endless origin Dao charm started to fuse with the primordial Dao charm. A vast and blurry boundary appeared within Lan Shu's consciousness. At this moment, Lan Shu felt as if she could see the beginning of the primal chaos breaking apart, as if she could see the formation of the universe. Lan Shu's entire body shook. Was she about to step into the third step? Creating a world? After a moment, Lan Shu felt sure that she was indeed about to create a world. But now, she was still holding on to Ning Cheng and running away. Although she knew some things about the third step, creating a world, she had never heard of creating a world in such a situation. Boom! Lan Shu's entire sea of consciousness gave out bursts of roars. Her Dao sense started to revolve around her, and a vague universe boundary appeared within her consciousness. Her Dao charm started to condense the laws within this universe boundary. At the same time, this universe boundary also started to give birth to more heaven and earth aura, because of the gradually condensing laws. Primordial chaos cleanses dust. Grand Dao transforms into a grand world. So this is my Dao, Lan Shu muttered to herself. The primordial chaos Dao charm cleansed her original Grand Dao, and created a brand new world. The primordial chaos Dao charm that surrounded her body grew even more distinct, and her world also grew even clearer. Lan Shu took in a deep breath. Her world had not yet been perfected, but she had an inexplicable confidence that her third step was much more powerful than those world creation powerhouses chasing after her. Something's not right. Just when Lan Shu wanted to speed up and get rid of the pursuers, she suddenly felt Ning Cheng's aura fluctuations. Chapter 1481. She was shocked to find that the primordial Dao runes that Ning Cheng had refined had turned into an endless torrent of Dao runes that flowed into Ning Cheng's body. However, Ning Cheng did not suffer any serious injuries or backlash. Lan Shu was ecstatic. Did this mean that Ning Cheng could fully integrate the primordial Dao runes? Because of this, Lan Shu started to worry after the pleasant surprise. She had stepped into the creation realm with the help of Ning Cheng's primordial Dao runes. In fact, she hadn't even obtained a billionth of the Dao rune origin. The primordial Dao runes that weren't even a billionth had cleansed her Dao, and helped her step into the creation realm. She could imagine what would happen to Ning Cheng if he absorbed a complete primordial Dao rune. In such a situation, Ningcheng might even end up bursting from the inside out. Ningcheng's blood staining half of the planet was a good example. Even though nothing had happened to Ningcheng, she still felt worried. Lan Shu's escape technique suddenly improved, and in a few breaths, she left the hundreds of cultivators behind. No one chased after her. Someone in the crowd clenched his fists and said hatefully, "This woman is too hateful. She could have gotten rid of us a long time ago. But she deliberately led us to chase her for so long. No, this woman must have taken advantage of the primordial Tao runes and reached the third step," someone immediately explained. "This woman is really lucky to have obtained such a shocking fortune. There will be another powerhouse in front of the creation realm." No one refuted this statement, as it was the most realistic and the easiest to explain. At the same time, no one refuted the fact that Lan Shu was about to become a powerhouse. Since Lan Shu had obtained Ningcheng's things, it would be impossible for her not to become a powerhouse. Not to mention that they couldn't catch up with that woman now. Even if they caught up with her, it would be useless. She used the primordial Tao runes to reach the third step. With such an opportunity, who would dare to go to a pseudo-realm? That would be courting death. Perhaps that woman hadn't stabilized her third step yet, but with her profound opportunity, stabilizing her third step would be a piece of cake. Instead of chasing after her and offending her, it would be better to return to the chaotic inner realm to find some opportunities. As the first person turned around, everyone turned around and left. "Kaiji, what do you think?" Ling Xiaoshuang asked Kaiji. Kaiji nodded. "I have to say that the gray-robed woman obtained a great opportunity. That Ningcheng also deserves this fate. He actually sat in this space for tens of thousands of years. Not only did he not recover, he even suffered a backlash from the primordial Tao aura, causing such a heavy injury." Ling Xiaoshuang shook her head. "I think it's weird. That woman seems to know Ningcheng so she could get close to him. Otherwise, that woman would have suffered a severe backlash from Ningcheng before she died. Forget it. Let's go. After all, our luck is lacking." Kaiji sighed. Although it was true that she sympathized with Ningcheng, it didn't mean that she didn't have any thoughts about the primal chaos origin. Lan Shu brought Ningcheng along with her for a full month, before she once again felt that something was wrong. The primordial mist Tao charm surrounding Ningcheng was about to completely merge with Ningcheng. At the same time, Ningcheng also absorbed some of the primordial mist aura condensed on the scabs covering Ningcheng's body. The impurities adhering to the surface of Ningcheng's body fell off, revealing his strong muscles. At first, Lan Shu couldn't get used to it. But when the grand mist aura dissipated, Ningcheng unconsciously tore off her clothes and fused with the remnant grand mist Tao charm aura in her body. Lan Shu immediately felt that something was wrong. If this continued, she would become the next Ningcheng. How much primordial mist Tao charm did she use to reach the third step? Even if Ningcheng swallowed her, it wouldn't stop Ningcheng's perception and absorption of the grand mist Tao. What should she do? She couldn't produce a single primordial mist Tao charm for Ningcheng. Right, that planet. Lan Shu immediately thought of the planet where Ningcheng had cultivated before. Ningcheng had sat on that uninhabited gray planet for tens of thousands of years, and the Tao charm blood flowing from Ningcheng's body had almost dyed the planet red. Now that Ningcheng could even absorb the scab's Tao charm attached to his body, he could definitely absorb the primordial mist aura on that planet. Thinking of this, Lan Shu turned around and rushed back again. Back then, hundreds of people had chased after her. After failing to catch up to her, many of them would have definitely fled. She had used some primordial mist Tao charm to cleanse her grand Tao and reach the third step. Even if there were a few cultivators left behind, they wouldn't be her opponents. After escaping for more than a month, Lan Shu spent another half a month before returning to the gray planet. Seeing the half-gray and half-dark red-colored planet in the distance, Lan Shu finally felt relieved in her heart. The primordial mist Tao charm surrounding Ningcheng had long since been swept away by him. If she couldn't find this gray planet, Ningcheng would crazily sweep away the Tao charm from her body, and her cultivation would fall once again. In the end, it wasn't impossible for her to fall. If her cultivation fell, it wouldn't matter. But if Ningcheng didn't wake up and fell into the hands of others, it would only lead to death. Lan Shu took a step forward and landed on the dark red half of the planet. She breathed a sigh of relief in her heart and placed Ningcheng in the place where he used to cultivate. After putting Ningcheng down, the endless Dao charm from the dark red planet swept towards Ningcheng like a raging wave. It then turned into a grand Dao aura and seeped into Ningcheng's body. Lan Shu's hand hadn't left Ningcheng's back yet. She could clearly feel Ningcheng's Dao charm growing crazily, and his strength also increasing crazily. Lan Shu felt slightly relieved and found that she was sitting next to Ningcheng. Because her clothes were torn, her skin was sticking to Ningcheng's. Her face turned slightly red. Although she didn't think of anything else, it still wasn't right. In her heart, Ningcheng was the boy next door, and in Ningcheng's heart, she was elder sister Shu. Just when Lan Shu wanted to stand up and change her clothes, and then help Ningcheng to protect him, a kind of vigilance suddenly rose up in her heart. The next moment, a gray figure appeared not far from Lan Shu and Ningcheng. He looked at Ningcheng and Lan Shu, who was sitting next to Ningcheng, without any expression. Lan Shu felt angry in her heart. She raised her hand and grabbed a robe to cover her body. She then took out another robe to help Ningcheng put it on before standing up. "Who is your excellency? Don't you feel ashamed to pry into other people's privacy?" Lan Shu spoke in a cold tone. Although she felt angry in her heart, she didn't do anything. She could see that the person in front of her was also a creation realm powerhouse. However, she wasn't afraid. She had just stepped into the creation realm and had confidence in herself. The gray-robed man remained silent for a long time before speaking with a hoarse voice. "I'm just passing by. But you're here with outsiders, don't you feel ashamed?" Lan Shu gave a cold snort. With a wave of her hand, the Yuan slaughter sword fell into her hands. "What outsiders? What I and my Dao companion do. What does it have to do with you? If you don't fuck off, then don't blame me for making a move." While speaking, Lan Shu also swept out with her spiritual consciousness. She was worried that this gray-robed man was not the only one here. If this gray-robed man was not alone, then once she and this gray-robed man started fighting, then someone would take advantage of the situation to attack Ningcheng. Yuan slaughter sword. The gray-robed man's gaze fell on the white sword in Lan Shu's hands, and spoke out in shock. Lan Shu did not speak. She stood in front of Ningcheng and stared at this gray-robed man with vigilance. At the same time, she also used her spiritual consciousness to carefully observe the situation around them. After a long time, the gray-robed man took a deep breath and spoke. "Shu." Lan Shu, who was still paying attention to the situation around them, felt as if she was struck by lightning. She stared at the gray-robed man in front of her and spoke one word at a time. "Who the hell are you? How do you know my name?" While speaking, Lan Shu's heart was in turmoil. In this part of the void universe, other than Nalan Rushua and Ningcheng, who else would know her name? How could this strange gray-robed man know her? The gray-robed man sighed as he lifted his hand and tore off the mask covering his face. Ding! The Yuan slaughter sword in Lan Shu's hand fell to the ground. Her whole body was nailed to the ground. After a long time, she called out in a trembling voice, "Yu Chen. Is it really you?" One could fake one's appearance, but how could she forget Lan Yuchen? "It's me." Lan Yuchen spoke with difficulty. Lan Shu's entire body trembled. "Since you did not fall, why did you cultivate to the creation realm? Why didn't you come back to find me? Why?" The gray-robed man's face suddenly twisted. At this moment, a tearing voice screamed in his consciousness. "Hurry up, this is the best time. As long as we kill this woman, we can obtain the supreme primordial Dao charm." "No." The gray-robed man suddenly cried out. Lan Shu suddenly woke up, as her trembling body gradually calmed down. However, she did not pick up the Yuan slaughter sword on the ground. Instead, she stared at the person in front of her who she had been thinking about day and night. "The opportunity was missed, idiot. Why did I choose to cooperate with an idiot like you?" The gray-robed man's voice was filled with dissatisfaction. Lan Shu quietly looked at the gray-robed man, as if waiting for an explanation. After a long time, the gray-robed man spoke up with difficulty. "Shu. The Angry Axe Valley is actually an axe valley created by the good fortune indestructible axe's remnant blade. I obtained that remnant blade in the Angry Axe Valley. Afterwards, I obtained some cultivation methods, and then went into seclusion to forget the passage of time. When I finally sobered up, you had already left the Yixing mainland. What he said in front was true, but what he said in the back was completely false. The Angry Axe Valley was indeed a valley created by the good fortune indestructible axe's remnant blade. Moreover, Lan Yuchen had indeed obtained a part of the good fortune indestructible axe's remnant blade, and even obtained some of the good fortune cultivation methods from the remnant blade. But the problem was, when Lan Yuchen obtained the good fortune indestructible axe's remnant blade, this remnant blade already contained a powerful ancient remnant soul. This remnant soul, under a half-threat and half-promise situation, reached an agreement with Lan Yuchen. That is, he would help Lan Yuchen set foot on the strongest Dao path, and Lan Yuchen would take him away from Yixing, to find the best materials to repair his corporeal body. As for the Angry Axe Valley's Lan Yuchen's fall, it was just an illusion of someone else's remains. Originally, there was nothing wrong with this agreement. Lan Yuchen, with the help of that remnant soul, was able to set foot on the road to becoming a powerhouse step by step. Moreover, with the help of Lan Yuchen, the remnant soul was also becoming more and more solid, and now it was almost only lacking a top-quality body sculpting treasure. The two of them did not think that at this time, the remnant soul in the indestructible axe's remnant blade would suddenly receive the summons of the indestructible axe, and immediately broke through the void. Without a place to live, the remnant soul was in a hurry, and could only temporarily reside in Lan Yuchen's sea of consciousness, because Lan Yuchen's cultivation methods were guided by this remnant soul. As such, Lan Yuchen simply had no way to expel this remnant soul. The remnant soul also had no way to deal with Lan Yuchen. As such, the two people muddled along until today. Chapter 1482. Lan Shu's eyes gradually softened. She believed in Lan Yuchen's words, and did not even think about how Ningcheng obtained Lan Yuchen's relics. After I entered the starry sky, I searched everywhere for you. All these years, I've been to countless planets and passed through countless realms, but I've never heard any news about you. When I heard that the Chaos Inner Realm had been opened, I wanted to try my luck. That's why I came here. I really didn't expect that you would be able to cultivate to this level and appear in the chaotic Inner Realm. The heavens took pity on me. I finally found you. Lan Yuchen saw Lan Shu's eyes soften, and quickly continued. Lan Shu choked with sobs and was completely unable to speak, or perhaps at this moment she did not know what she should say. Lan Yuchen suddenly looked at Ningcheng sitting on the ground and asked, "Shuer, who is this person?" Lan Shu's heart tightened, as the tender feelings that filled her heart were immediately suppressed, as she quickly waved her hand and spoke. "Yuchen, you do not misunderstand. This is Ningcheng. He has saved my life. This time, I only obtained some opportunities in order to save him. Hurry up, kid, hurry up. As long as you capture that kid and leave, all the opportunities will be yours." The voice in Lan Yuchen's sea of consciousness kept encouraging him. As if sensing Lan Yuchen's hesitation, the voice became even more shrill. "What are you hesitating for? Your words are full of loopholes. If this woman calms down a little, she will be able to figure it out. Once she thinks of the loophole in your words, she'll be on her guard, and you won't have such a good opportunity anymore." Lan Yuchen opened his mouth. He was somewhat reluctant to part with Lan Shu. "Idiot, after you obtain a great opportunity like the primordial Taoist aura, you'll have all kinds of women. Why would you want a broken shoe like this? This woman just said that she and Ningcheng are Dao companions. You have seen that kind of intimacy with your own eyes. The two of them have already been mixed together for a long time." The voice in Lan Yuchen's sea of consciousness continued to bewitch her. "Yuchen." Lan Shu quickly noticed the slight change in Lan Yuchen, and took a step forward. She was so excited that she wanted to grab Lan Yuchen's hand. Lan Yuchen smiled happily. "It's nothing. I didn't expect it to be like this. I've never misunderstood you. If there's one person I can trust in this world, it's you. You're still the same, always putting the kindness of others first. You don't have to worry now. I'll protect him with you. If this won't do." Lan Shu subconsciously stopped. Just when she was about to ask about it, Lan Yuchen spoke up. Brother Ning, absorbing the Dao charm in this place would create too much of a commotion. Let me help you arrange an isolation grand array to prevent others from finding this place. Lan Shu recovered. That's right, if Yuqing could come here, then naturally other people could also come here. Although she had 1,000 things to say to Yuqing, now was not the time. Ning Cheng was currently crazily sweeping away the remnant primordial Dao charm left on this gray planet. I will arrange the grand array, you just have to protect Ning City. Lan Shu quickly took out an array flag. Well, I can also help you a little. While speaking, Lan Yuchen had already arrived at Ning Cheng's side. Lan Shu was not aware of it at all. When she threw out the first array flag, Lan Yuchen suddenly condensed out a huge handprint, as she grabbed Ning Cheng and took a step into the void. Yuchen Yu. As soon as Lan Yuchen moved, Lan Shu immediately became aware of it. She did not know what to do for a moment, but then she came to a complete understanding. The joy in her eyes and the suppressed excitement turned into sadness. She couldn't recall even a single word from before. Lan Yuchen obviously came here to snatch the primordial Dao charm, not to look for her. Lan Yuchen did not care about it, as she took a step into the void and shot out several white lights towards Lan Shu. The existence in his sea of consciousness had warned him more than once that Lan Shu was stronger than him. Lan Shu also reacted and rushed over in a crazy manner. She knew very well that once Lan Yuchen snatched Ning Cheng away, then Ning Cheng would have to face an incomparably miserable fate. Kid, we're rich. This fellow's mysterious yellow origin aura points directly to the mysterious yellow bead. In other words, the good fortune mysterious yellow bead is on him. The voice in Lan Yuchen's sea of consciousness turned even sharper. Boom. Just as Lan Yuchen took Ning Cheng away, the remnant primordial Dao charm that Ning Cheng had just absorbed from the gray planet suddenly exploded. Lan Yuchen, who was pleasantly surprised by the mysterious yellow bead, did not expect such a violent Dao charm. The berserk Dao charm aura exploded, and Lan Yuchen's handprint that was wrapped around Ning Cheng loosened. Almost at the same time, Lan Shu's yuan slaughtering sword slashed over. Lan Yuchen, in a hurry, could only dodge a little. Lan Shu immediately picked up Ning Cheng and sent him back to his original sitting position. As soon as Ning Cheng landed on the planet's rock, the blood Dao charm of the entire gray planet rushed over like a river bursting through a dam. Lan Shu did not continue to attack Lan Yuchen, but her eyes showed a deathly gray color. If she could, she would rather not see Lan Yuchen for the rest of her life. She wanted Lan Yuchen to become the most beautiful scenery in her heart. If she could, she would rather never be saved by Ning Cheng. She did not want Lan Yuchen to see her and Ning Cheng together. Was the Grand Dao really ruthless? Did the Grand Dao really want to forget everything? The expectations she once had now looked ridiculous. The things that once supported her were now like fireworks. They looked beautiful, but in fact they were nothing. Idiot, if it weren't for you still thinking about that woman, how could that kind of Dao charm explode open your handprint? The voice in Lan Yuchen's sea of consciousness screamed even more unscrupulously. Lan Yuchen's face turned cold, and she sent out a thought. If you dare to be long-winded again, we will break up. The voice seemed to be extremely afraid of Lan Yuchen's broken jar, and could only shut up. Shoo! I was worried that you wouldn't understand my approach, so I decided to do it first before telling you. As long as we can obtain the primordial Dao charm, we can ascend the supreme Dao path in the future. In the future, when the good fortune opens, you and I will also have a share. Lan Yuchen's tone turned gentle. The emptiness in Lan Shu's eyes gradually turned dark, and her face no longer had the excitement and joy from before. She just asked in a hoarse voice, "Why? Shu, you also walk the path of the Grand Dao, who can achieve perfection. This person saved you, but you also saved him. At that time, we will just take away the primordial Dao charm and save his life. At that time, we will never separate and roam the vast good fortune universe, overlooking all the living beings in the primal chaos." Lan Yuchen's voice was low, and she continued to speak with emotion. Lan Shu's hands finally trembled, and the last trace of expectation in her eyes also disappeared. "You can go, just pretend that I never saw you. You have your Dao path, and I also have my Dao path. Ungrateful. How different are you from beasts? Yuchen has already fallen, and you are no longer the Yuchen of the past. Don't call me Shuer in the future. Lan Yuchen's eyes flashed with a trace of struggle. Even without Lan Shu's words, he knew that he had changed. At that time, when he left with that remnant soul, it might have been because he was bewitched. But later, when he struggled to survive in the vast starry sky, he deeply understood the truth that strength was the most important. No matter what you did, it didn't matter. Your final strength was the most important thing. Miao Shu, do you really want to be so heartless? You messed around with other men. Did I say even half a word about you? I just wanted to take away a primordial Dao charm, yet you defended Ning Cheng like this. Have you ever thought about the kindness between you and me? Once you spread your legs and found a new lover, you forgot about the past. Lan Shu's face turned red with anger. Even with her strength in the creation world realm, she couldn't help but tremble. There was nothing between her and Ning Cheng, but Lan Yuchen's words were too hurtful. Was this still the same Lan Yuchen who held her in her hands, afraid that she would fall to the ground? Was this still the same Lan Yuchen who did not care about the family, just to protect her? Lan Shu did not argue anymore. Her heart had already died at this moment. Slowly turning around, Lan Shu raised her hand and shot out dozens of array flags, and began to arrange a defensive grand array. She completely understood that Lan Yuchen's previous words were all lies. If Lan Yuchen had really gone to find her, then it was impossible for him not to know that she had changed her name to Lan Shu. Compared to the series of lies that Lan Yuchen had told before, Lan Yuchen's words just now made her heart turn to ashes. The person who had waited for so many years had actually treated her like this. You're not her opponent. Crazy women are the most terrifying. If you still want the primordial Dao charm and the mysterious yellow bead, then leave now, and then find someone to join forces with to deal with this woman. The spiritual soul within Lan Yuchen's sea of consciousness also calmed down at this moment. Since she could not snatch it at first, then she had to slowly think of countermeasures. Chapter 1483. Lan Yuchen had just left when the aura on the gray planet suddenly turned violent. The defensive array arranged by Lan Shu, in just a twinkling of an eye, turned into nothingness. Lan Shu was incomparably shocked, and was just about to go up and check out the situation. An even more majestic Dao charm aura surged out, and the redness that dyed half of the planet looked as if a thin film had been lifted. Then, the surging Dao aura rushed towards Ningcheng. Outside of that billowing majestic aura, Lan Shu was directly blocked, and was simply unable to enter. Lan Shu was shocked in her heart. She found that she was helpless, in the face of this kind of situation. She simply did not know what to do. Even with her strength at the creation realm, she was unable to charge into the majestic Dao rhyme. At this moment, she had no other choice but to watch from the sidelines. Lan Shu sighed. She could only resign herself to fate. In just the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, Lan Shu was surprised to find that the aura around Ning Cheng's body was becoming more and more powerful. A kind of vastness that transcended the entire universe surrounded Ning Cheng's body. If she was facing an ancient treasure land, Lan Shu could still understand this kind of aura. Now that this kind of vast and powerful majestic aura appeared on Ning Cheng's body, Lan Shu simply could not understand what was going on. Although Lan Shu had stepped into the creation realm, it was because of the amazing opportunities that she had. As such, her knowledge and experience were not as good as those powerhouses who spent most of their time in the vast void. But now that Ningcheng was surrounded by such a majestic imposing aura, Lan Shu could also guess that Ningcheng's strength was constantly rising. Lan Shu had not guessed wrong. Ningcheng's strength was indeed constantly rising. The other world began to gradually improve. After tens of thousands of years of accumulation, it almost instantly became a chaotic universe. Ningcheng caught the endless primordial Dao charm, and Ningcheng's consciousness gradually sobered up. He even saw the terrifying power within the primordial Dao charm, and the supreme origin within the primordial Dao charm. However, he also saw a trace of aura within the primordial Dao runes. This trace of aura didn't belong to the primordial Dao runes. Perhaps it belonged to another trace of Dao runes from when the primordial chaos was first formed. It was just attached to the primordial Dao runes. Even so, Ningqing did not hesitate to cut off this trace of aura. He could take away all of the primordial world origin, all of the primordial chaos. He would not accept any Dao rune aura that he did not know of. The surging Dao charm didn't change Ningqiang's own great Dao. Instead, it continuously solidified Ningqiang's great Dao laws and perfected Ningqiang's spirit technique laws. Ice-sealed space, starry sky wheel, none to depend on, sunset's twilight, order-breaking finger, traceless space collapse, 7 bridges. As Ning City's great Dao solidified and the laws of the world were perfected, they were also constantly being perfected. At this moment, an explosive Dao charm rumbled in the depths of Ningqiang's consciousness. Ningqiang closed his eyes, and endless insights circulated around his Dao sense. Ningqiang had a clear understanding in his heart that he was about to merge his boundary. At this moment, he finally understood what it meant to merge worlds. After the creation realm, he thought that he wouldn't suffer from Deva blight, because he cultivated the creation realm cultivation technique. When he stepped into the creation realm and used his Dao runes to condense laws to create a universe, he finally encountered the first blight, the convergence blight. A fusing realm's decline had weakened him for tens of thousands of years, and his blood essence had almost dyed an entire planet red. In the end, it was all thanks to Lan Shu that they managed to survive the fading world. The primordial Dao aura was born from the heavens. It was indeed a supreme treasure. Without the primordial Dao aura, he could have stepped into the fusing realm, but he would never have faced such a tragic fusing realm's decline. Without the fusing realm's decline, he couldn't feel the Dao intent of the samsara of life and death. He couldn't feel the aura of swallowing a planet and controlling the vast void with a wave of his hand. The moment he crossed the fusing realm's decline, Ningqiang felt that he had grasped something vital to him. It was his destiny. Fusing realm's decline could merge one's body with the world, or merge one's Dao with the world. Fusing one's body with the world was the strongest, but Ningqiang had resolutely abandoned it. His Dao intent was that as long as I'm here, the Dao is here. He wanted to merge the realms, which meant that his Dao and realms would merge. As long as he was here, both the Dao and the world would exist. His world would be filled with his great Dao and his laws. Although he had been in the midst of fusing with the primordial Dao, it didn't mean that he didn't know what happened between Lan Shu and Lan Yuchen. Because he knew these things, he changed his mind about merging his body with the world. With Lan Yuchen's temperament, even if she cultivated to the creation realm, what could she do? He had also lost the most precious thing in his life. No matter at any time, no matter under any temptation, his body had to be unique. Even if he merged with the world, he couldn't use his body to merge with it. After merging his body with the world, his body would still exist. But since he merged with the world, who knew if it would affect his Dao intent and emotions? Cultivating the Dao, a great Dao without emotions, was not what Ningqiang needed at all. In addition to the great Dao, he also needed relatives, lovers, friends, and temperament. Boom boom boom. When Ningqiang's Dao intent of merging with the world appeared, whether it was Ningqiang's body or Ningqiang's sea of consciousness, bursts of horrifying Dao charm roars erupted. The billowing Dao charm felt like boiling oil between heaven and earth. It stretched out endlessly in this part of the void, containing infinite power. At this moment, more than a dozen experts, attracted by this scene, also waited in shock from afar, not daring to take even half a step forward. A clear sound that seemed to come from outside the universe echoed endlessly in this part of the void. All the cultivators on the sidelines subconsciously looked up at the void in the distance, their eyes filled with shock. This part of the void, which originally had no laws, slowly gave birth to laws at this moment. At the same time, a trace of vitality slowly appeared in this lifeless place. Even the god's spiritual qi was slowly appearing in the endless void. Finally, some smart cultivators came to their senses and quickly knelt down in front of Ningqiang's planet. At the same time, they congratulated him. Congratulations to Dao monarch Ningqiang for successfully merging with the world. With the first one, the second one naturally followed. A Dao monarch in the realm of merging with the world laws in the endless void. Just how terrifying was he? Perhaps even more powerful than the 10 Dao monarchs and the 5 sacred masters. Who would dare to disrespect such a Dao charm? In the face of such a Tao monarch's disrespect, perhaps the other party could pinch you to death with a single hand seal in the void. As these voices spread out, the roars of Ningcheng's planet grew even more majestic. The space around Ningcheng even condensed into substance. Boom. An explosion that almost shook the entire void suddenly rang out, and countless broken meteorites shot out from the void. Everyone looked at the place where Ningcheng was in horror. The huge gray planet couldn't withstand Ningcheng's Tao charm at this moment, and exploded into pieces. The moment the gray planet exploded, everyone saw it clearly. Within the endless Tao charm, Ningcheng stood in the void, and the clothes on Ningcheng's upper body had long since disappeared. Ningcheng, with his upper body bare, stood in the void like a heavenly deity. His monstrous aura suppressed the surroundings, and everyone's heart trembled. Almost everyone who could come here had seen a Tao monarch in the realm of merging with the world. However, no one had ever seen a Tao monarch as powerful as Ningcheng. He didn't deliberately release his aura, but that monstrous aura made it hard for people to breathe. What kind of powerhouse was this? As the Tao charm around Ningcheng gradually stabilized, the majestic aura gradually dissipated, and Ningcheng slowly returned to normal. Lan Shu flew forward in surprise. Ningcheng, you've merged with the world? She was a creation realm powerhouse, and she had created her realm with the help of Ningcheng's primordial chaos Tao charm. Lan Shu knew very well that her third step was far inferior to Ningcheng's. Ningcheng took a step forward, and a set of clothes automatically appeared on his body. Sister Shu, I'm sorry. I implicated you this time. When Ningcheng fused and refined the primordial Tao charm, he clearly understood what happened between Lan Shu and Lan Yuchen. Lan Shu shook her head. This has nothing to do with you. If it weren't for you, I would still be living in a fantasy. Lan Shu's words suddenly stopped, and her eyes looked at the two people coming from afar. One of them was Lan Yuchen, who had left before Ningcheng's realm closed. Seeing Lan Yuchen bring people over, Lan Shu's mouth showed a trace of self-deprecation. This was the person she missed day and night. The realm closed successfully? The one who spoke was a black-robed man next to Lan Yuchen. When he saw Ningcheng, he spoke in surprise but didn't show much of a strange expression. Ningcheng spoke with a calm voice. I was wondering who it was. It turned out to be an old friend. Although he didn't see Tao Monarch Darkness when he traded with him, he knew that the person who came was Tao Monarch Darkness. Lan Yuchen was quite good at finding people, and she even found Tao Monarch Darkness. Tao Monarch Darkness apparently also recognized Ningcheng and smiled. You got quite the opportunity. Not only did you obtain the primordial Tao charm, but you also succeeded in merging with the world. You keep getting good things, and even I'm jealous. Chapter 1484. With Ningcheng's current state, he could see Tao Lord Darkness's power at a glance. He was certain that Tao Lord Darkness's cultivation had completely recovered. Not only that, but it had even improved. In Ningcheng's opinion, Tao Lord Darkness shouldn't be any weaker than Star Tao Lord and Five-Color Tao Lord. His cultivation was even higher than his, reaching the peak of Unity Realm. For Ningcheng, this level of cultivation was nothing at all. Even if he was still in the creation realm, he would still be able to deal with Tao Monarch Darkness, let alone being in the Unity Realm. Realm and power were two different things. Even when he was in Creation Realm, he could still kill Tao Lord Darkness. Since Tao Lord Darkness dared to be fearless towards him, he was sure that this guy didn't know that he and Yemo had teamed up to deal with many experts. As an ancient Tao Lord Darkness, he naturally wouldn't put Ningcheng, who hadn't stabilized his Unity Realm, in his eyes. I wanted to ask you about the Law of Darkness. You came at the right time. Ningcheng smiled faintly, not caring that Tao Lord Darkness saw him as his prey. Tao Lord Darkness had a sneer on his face. He took a step forward and a dark ray smashed towards Ningcheng. Then I will teach you what the Law of Darkness is. When Tao Lord Darkness released it, it was still a dark ray. When everyone saw it, it had already turned into a dark world. This dark world only had one law, the Law of Darkness. This Law of Darkness stretched out like a huge net. All the void in the surrounding space disappeared and automatically evolved into a world of Law of Darkness. Even the cultivators watching from afar retreated in fear. If they retreated a little slower, this world born from the law of darkness seemed to be able to sweep them in. Even though they retreated far away, everyone's heart was shrouded in a layer of shadow. What they saw was a boundless dark space, and the dark space was filled with a dark murderous intent that made one's heart palpitate. So strong. This was the only thought in everyone's mind. Ning Cheng's unity realm was already very powerful in everyone's eyes. They didn't expect that a random Dao Lord Darkness could sweep up such a terrifying law world with a wave of his hand. Dao Lord Darkness wasn't in the top 10 Dao Lords, but he wasn't weaker than any of them. With such a powerful world of darkness, this person must be Dao Monarch Darkness. One of the spectating cultivators exclaimed. Lan Yuchen muttered to herself in shock. How can this person be so strong? He had sought out Dao Lord Darkness for a collaboration. If Dao Lord Darkness was too strong, what was the point of a collaboration? The voice in Lan Yuchen's sea of consciousness sneered. Dao Monarch Darkness is indeed very strong, but he also has a weakness. You don't have to worry. As long as Dao Monarch Darkness restrains Ningcheng, we'll be able to get our share. When Dao Lord Darkness brought out his world of laws of darkness, the smirk on his face deepened. The Dao runes of the laws of darkness around him spread out endlessly. It was as if the entire void was going to be absorbed into his laws of darkness. Ning Cheng had asked him for advice regarding the laws of darkness, yet he wanted to be arrogant in front of him with just this bit of cultivation? Lan Shu could also feel the invasion of the terrifying laws of darkness, causing her to feel anxious in her heart. Even though she had used the primordial chaos Dao runes to reach the third step, her foundation was still inferior to others. Dao Lord Darkness's overwhelming nomological suppression made her feel a sense of helplessness. If it were her, she could only run as far as she could and try to escape before the laws of darkness completely enveloped her. Ningcheng. Lan Shu called out but did not say anything else. At this time, even if Ningcheng wanted to leave, it would be too late. The laws of darkness had already affected the surrounding void, and Ningcheng and her were now under Dao Lord Darkness's nomological world. Ningcheng shook his head at Lan Shu, signaling her not to worry. He also took a step forward and pointed out with his finger. The order-breaking finger destroyed the void and crushed all laws. No matter how strong the laws of darkness were, they were just laws. Boom. Kacha. The order-breaking finger and the Dao runes of the laws of darkness clashed, causing chaotic Dao runes to explode in the sky. Immediately, everyone was shocked to find that the laws of darkness, which enveloped all the surrounding void, started to crack like a spider's web. Break. Ningcheng clenched his finger into a fist, and the spider's web-like cracks completely collapsed. It was as if a red sun had torn through the layers of gray clouds. Everyone in this part of the void relaxed, and the shadow in their hearts dissipated. Dao Lord Darkness's eyes flashed with horror. Ningcheng's strength had far exceeded his expectations. With just one move, he knew that he was not Ningcheng's opponent. Before the dark cloud banner in his hand could fully roll out, Ningcheng's good fortune divine spear blasted out again. His dark domain was like an eggshell under the laws of Ningcheng's spirit technique, easily smashing apart. You actually comprehended the laws of darkness origin, and your understanding of the laws of darkness is even stronger than mine. This is impossible. Dao Lord Darkness looked at the good fortune divine spear in disbelief. Even the most powerful experts would not be able to tear apart his dark domain so easily. The only possibility was that Ningcheng had completely mastered the laws of darkness, just like him. Not only that, but Ningcheng's control of the laws of darkness was even stronger. Dao Lord Darkness didn't guess wrong. Ningcheng's control of the laws of darkness was indeed stronger than Dao Lord Darkness's. Dao Lord Darkness controlled the laws of darkness of the light and dark universe. It could be said that in the light and dark universe, no one could control the laws of darkness better than Qin Mutian. However, Ningcheng not only controlled the laws of darkness of the light and dark universe, but he also cut off the laws of darkness that he controlled and recondensed the laws of darkness of his own world. From this point alone, he was far stronger than Dao Lord Darkness. Ningcheng said disdainfully, "Since you're called Dao Lord Darkness, are you the one who comprehended the laws of darkness the strongest? Forget about me, Even Qin Mutian is much, much stronger than you. Back then, you used the deleted laws of darkness to trade with me, so I'll settle the score with you today. Qin Mutian? No wonder, you've been to the light and dark universe. Tao Lord Darkness suddenly understood. The reason why Ning Cheng could control the laws of darkness better than him was because Ning Cheng had also been to the light and dark universe. After knowing that Ning Cheng had been to the light and dark universe, Tao Lord Darkness calmed down. The dark cloud banner even swept up the aura of heaven and earth, turning into huge layers of dark clouds that blasted towards Ning Cheng. Spirit Technique, Darkness Domain. Darkness Domain was one of Tao Lord Darkness's top spirit techniques, somewhat similar to Ning Cheng's Traceless Collapse. The laws of darkness swept up by the dark cloud banner turned into layers of laws of darkness, just like layers of a realm. If the opponent was locked in this realm formed by the laws of darkness, even if they could tear a layer or two, they would still not be able to escape the shackles of Tao Lord Darkness's laws of darkness. One day, Qin Mutian will take care of you. After Tao Lord Darkness confirmed that Ning Cheng was stronger than him, he had already made plans to retreat. He knew that his darkness domain might not be able to do anything to Ning Cheng. Tao Lord Darkness didn't guess wrong. After Ning Cheng's creation Divine Spear, he also swept up layers of spatial collapses. Unlike Tao Lord Darkness created layers of void law realm out of thin air. Ning Cheng, on the other hand, tore layers of spatial dislocations in the void. The two spirit techniques collided, and the void surged with Tao charm that filled the sky. The terrifying spatial collapse and the roar of the realm echoed endlessly in the vast void. Ning Cheng's spatial collapse directly devoured Tao Lord Darkness's laws of darkness. Tao Lord Darkness quickly retreated, but no matter how fast he retreated, he wasn't as fast as the collapsing void. Puff! A bloody mist spurted out from Tao Lord Darkness's leg, and Tao Lord Darkness's entire body turned into a black shadow, disappearing without a trace along with the bloody mist. Ning Cheng didn't chase after him. Although he could catch up to Tao Lord Darkness, Lan Shu definitely wouldn't be that fast. Lan Yuchen's heart turned cold. Ning Cheng had just merged his realm, so how could he be so powerful? I didn't expect Tao Lord Darkness to be so weak. This person is terrifyingly powerful. Even if I was at my peak, I wouldn't be his opponent. We can't leave now. Play the pity card with that woman and leave this place first. As Tao Lord Darkness escaped, the voice in Lan Yuchen's sea of consciousness also had a hint of fear. Chapter 1485. Sure, you can come with me. So what if I cultivated to the level of Tao Monarch Darkness? I finally understand that everything else is secondary to me. I just want you to come with me. Lan Yuchen no longer paid attention to Ning Cheng. Instead, his gaze fell on Lan Shu, his eyes filled with expectation. His words gave people a feeling that he had seen the end of Tao Monarch Darkness. He had already thought it through. Lan Shu was more important than any treasure. The surrounding cultivators cupped their fists towards Ning Cheng from afar and bowed before retreating. Tao Monarch Darkness wasn't Ning Cheng's opponent, and Ning Cheng easily defeated Tao Monarch Darkness. From this, one could imagine that Ning Cheng was definitely an expert on the same level as the 5 sacred masters. Such a powerhouse could dictate their life and death. Who would dare to disrespect him? Ning Cheng's expression remained calm and didn't speak. He knew Lan Yuchen's tricks too well. For the sake of elder sister Shu's face, he didn't bother to kill this person right now. Lan Shu stared at Lan Yuchen for a long time before speaking up in a hoarse voice. You've changed. Even if you seek the great Tao by hook or by crook, you would never say such words before. Lan Yuchen's face stiffened. He understood that the other party already knew what he was thinking. Ning Cheng, let's go. Lan Shu suddenly turned around and left. Ning Cheng ignored Lan Yuchen, and instantly left with Lan Shu. In the vast starry sky, there were too many people like Lan Yuchen. Lan Shu rushed all the way, and Ning Cheng could feel the pain in her heart. So he didn't stop her and let her run. Only after a few days, did Lan Shu finally stop. Ning Cheng caught up and said, "Don't worry about it. People change. Lan Yuchen is like this now, but it doesn't mean that Lan Yuchen was like this in the past. So you don't have to feel sad." Lan Shu didn't answer Ning Cheng's words. She walked up to Ning Cheng and hugged him tightly. Ning Cheng was stunned. Lan Shu's actions surprised him too much. At this time, he could only pat Lan Shu's hand gently, but he didn't know how to persuade her. Although Ning Cheng had already merged with his realm, he had only cut his Tao and not cut his emotions. He was still a person with 5 emotions and 6 desires. Lan Shu's soft and fragrant body made him a little uncomfortable. Lan Shu did not know if she could feel Ning Cheng's discomfort, but her body slightly stiffened, and then immediately softened, as tears silently flowed down. Ning Cheng gave a sigh, as he converged his thoughts, and remained silent like Lan Shu. At this moment he suddenly missed Luofei and Qianghua, as well as Yanji and Ruolin in the Grand Essence realm. Even if the heavens fell and the earth cracked, he had to return to the Grand Essence realm as soon as possible, and then take Luofei to the Grand Simplicity realm to find Qianghua. Not knowing for how long, Lan Shu slowly stood up from Ning Cheng's arms. Sister Shu. Ning Cheng had not yet spoken when Lan Shu stretched out her white hand and gently placed it on Ning Cheng's mouth, as her voice became even more hoarse. Thank you. If you were not by my side, this elder sister would not know how to face it. It's a pity that I met you too late. Ning Cheng opened his mouth and wanted to persuade her a few words, but Lan Shu seemed to know what Ning Cheng was thinking, as she gently waved her hand and spoke. You take care of yourself. Everyone wants to enter the gate of good fortune. It would definitely not be easy. You might be strong, but you still have to be careful. I'm leaving. Let's say our goodbyes here. Sister Shu, come back to the mysterious yellow sect with me. That's my place. Ruolin, Luofei and the others are there. Ning Cheng looked at Lan Shu slowly turning around, and finally couldn't help but persuade her. Lan Shu shook her head. That's not the place your sister Shu would go. Where are you going? Ning Cheng asked with some worry. Lan Shu glanced at the vast and boundless void and spoke with a lonely voice. I don't know, but when I get tired of walking, I will stop one day. After that, she looked at Ning Cheng again. If I happen to meet you that day, I will go to your place with you. The implication was that if she did not meet Ning Cheng that day, she would find a place to go into seclusion forever and never come out again. After saying this, Lan Shu's entire body turned into a Tao charm, and disappeared into the vast and boundless void. Lan Shu's figure slowly blurred, and then slowly disappeared from Ning Cheng's spiritual sense. Ning Cheng felt a kind of emptiness in his heart. He looked at the void where Lan Shu disappeared, and only after a long time did he give out a low sigh. Maybe once I step into the gate of good fortune, the entire void would fall under my spiritual sense. In a corner of the chaotic inner world, a powerful aura of Tao runes swept up. Following this powerful Tao rune was the thunderous sound of the void Tao rune exploding. The endless spirit chi around the mist rolled up, forming a long vein that disappeared into the middle of the explosion of the void Tao charm. The chaotic inner realm lacked spirit chi, and this kind of rich spirit chi was the result of a large spiritual gathering array arranged by a spirit vein. At the outermost periphery, a woman in a light blue robe watched anxiously. Someone is actually trying to reach Tao unification here? A fat monk looked at the place with a huge movement in amazement. Not only this monk, but some other cultivators who were also searching for treasures in the chaotic inner realm also noticed the huge movement. The fat monk shook his head. A Tao unification holy emperor, in his eyes, wasn't even comparable to an ant. He didn't care about it at all. Back then, he failed to snatch the primordial chaos Tao charm. Therefore, over the years he had been searching around the chaotic inner realm. Since he couldn't snatch the primordial chaos Tao charm, he decided to loot everything else in this place. As long as a cultivator met him, it would be an unlucky one, because 99% of them would be destroyed and killed by him. However, he had a lazy habit. If there was a cultivator some distance away from him, he couldn't be bothered to chase and kill them. Of course, that was unless the cultivator obtained something good. If there was something good, no matter how far away it was, he wouldn't hesitate to chase after it and kill it, then take it for himself. After fighting for the primordial chaos Tao, the powerful ones usually left the chaotic inner realm, went into seclusion, or found a place to refine and fuse the treasures they obtained in the chaotic inner realm. Because of these reasons, the fat monk didn't encounter any powerful opponents. In 100,000 years, the fat monk looted close to 20% of the treasures in the chaotic inner realm. After 100,000 years of looting, the fat monk's mouth had become picky. What was so special about a primordial essence divine emperor? Just as the fat monk shook his head and was about to leave, he suddenly understood something. Then he disappeared from the spot and flew towards the location of the Tao Unification Realm cultivator. An ordinary primordial essence divine emperor's Tao Unification Realm wasn't much to look at, but what was this place? The chaotic inner realm? The chaotic inner realm wasn't suitable for Tao unification. Not to mention a primordial essence divine emperor. Even an ordinary Tao molding divine emperor knew this. Now that someone was Tao unification in the chaotic inner realm, the only possibility was that this Tao unification cultivator had found a great opportunity. This kind of opportunity forced the other party to Tao unification here. As soon as the fat monk arrived, a woman in a light yellow dress walked out of the mist. Sister Luofei, you succeeded in Tao unification? You've become even more beautiful. The woman in the light blue dress walked up to him with a joyful expression. The woman in the light yellow dress was also overjoyed. Sister Ji, this is a really good place. Not only did I succeed in Tao unification, but I also understood my own Tao. These two were Yan Ji and Ji Luofei, who came to the chaotic inner realm to look for Ningcheng. The chaotic inner realm was too vast for people at their level. After searching for so many years, the two couldn't find any trace of Ningcheng. They didn't even hear any news about him. Haha. Both of you are sisters, good sisters. The fat monk laughed. He had seen a few peerless beauties in the chaotic inner realm, but unfortunately, he couldn't touch any of them. There was a woman named Xingxi, and he almost died at the hands of that woman. There was also a woman in a purple dress. He didn't even dare to talk to this woman. She was just too powerful. Now he saw two of them at once. Moreover, these two women were equally beautiful. They weren't any weaker than Xingxi. Yanji and Ji Luofei immediately stood side by side and stared at the fat monk in front of them warily. Over the years, it wasn't that they hadn't encountered strong enemies. They even met a half-step world creation powerhouse once. However, the two of them defeated that fellow. The more the fat monk looked at the two women, the more satisfied he felt. After so many years of boring treasure hunting, it was time for him to have some fun. These two women were not only unparalleled in beauty, but they were also voluptuous and enchanting. They also exuded pure Tao spirituality. It was perfect for this fat lord to enjoy. What was even more beautiful was that one was already a woman, and the other was still a virgin. It was exactly what he wanted. Chapter 1486. Sister Luofei, this person's cultivation should have reached the third step. Yanji stared at the fat monk cautiously while whispering to Ji Luofei. Over the years, she and Ji Luofei had searched for Ningcheng in the chaotic inner realm and obtained some opportunities. Not only did Luofei reach Tao integration, but she had also reached the peak of Tao integration and was only one step away from the third step. However, the gap between the third step and Tao integration was like a chasm. Some people couldn't even cross this chasm in their lifetime. Therefore, there was an essential difference between Tao integration and creation realm. Whether it was a false realm or a fake realm, there was an essential difference. Not everyone could be as heaven-defying as Ningcheng and Yimo, who could fight against creation realm powerhouses at the Tao integration realm. Good eyesight, but it's still not enough. This monk is not only at the third step, but also at the unity realm. So two sisters follow this monk. It's your good fortune. The fat monk laughed. Yanji's voice couldn't hide from his ears at all. Luofei and Yanji's heart sank. He could even hear Yanji's voice. Even if the two of them joined forces, they probably wouldn't be this fat monk's opponent. Senior, my husband is also in this chaotic inner realm. Luofei said with a fluke in her heart. She knew that in terms of strength, the two of them couldn't compare to this monk. Even if the two of them escaped separately, they might not be able to escape. The fat monk laughed again and interrupted Ji Luofei's words. Don't scare this old monk. Don't say your husband's name. This old monk will tremble in fear. While talking, the fat monk didn't move. Instead, a A powerful Dao charm turned into a huge handprint and grabbed towards Ji Luofei and Yanji. Under the pressure of the fat monk's domain, Ji Luofei and Yanji couldn't move at all. At this moment, they could only watch the fat monk's Dao charm giant hand crush them. Stop. You're a senior. Don't you feel ashamed to attack two junior women? A crisp voice came. After the fat monk used his realm domain to bind Ji Luofei and Yanji, he looked at a spot in the void and spoke. Hee, do you think that with an escape talisman in your hand, you can casually berate your fat ancestor? A monk doesn't fear many, but not many. Since you're here, then come together. As he spoke, a majestic aura of Taoist rhymes swept out, and the entire space froze under this aura. Under the sweep of the fat monk's Dao monarch, two figures appeared in the void not far from Ji Luofei and Yanji. These were also two women, but the only difference was that the cultivation of these two women seemed to be inferior to Ji Luofei and Yanji. As the shackles weakened, Yanji took the opportunity to raise her hand and bring out a spear talisman. The realm boundary binding her and Ji Luofei suddenly exploded under this spear talisman. Immediately Yanji anxiously called out. Many thanks to the two senior apprentice sisters for their help. You should quickly leave. If there is a chance, please help us send a letter to my husband Ningcheng. Tell him that Luofei and I died at the hands of a fat monk. Ling Xiaoshuang, who was about to crush the escape talisman, suddenly stopped. Not only Ling Xiaoshuang but even the fat monk's Dao runes also paused. Ji Luofei and Yanji quickly used the residual power of the spear talisman to escape from the monk's domain Dao charm shackles. Even if you want to escape, this monk can easily catch up with you. If you don't believe me, just try it. The fat monk slowly recovered and spoke in a low voice. Compared to the previous frivolous and disdainful tone, the fat monk's tone seemed a little more anxious. After Ningcheng snatched the primordial chaos Dao charm, he asked around and finally learned about Ningcheng's origin. Moreover, he also learned that the chaotic inner realm opened, because Ningcheng called the good fortune indestructible axe. Not only that, but the mysterious yellow holy master, five-color Dao monarch and strength Dao monarch joined forces to plot against Ningcheng, but Ningcheng still managed to escape. Although he was conceited, he probably couldn't even deal with one of the four who attacked Ningcheng. One could imagine how much pressure Ningcheng put on him. This really matched his previous arrogant words. He didn't care about other names at all. But this Ningcheng. If he really touched these two women, he would probably tremble in fear when he heard this name in the future. Perhaps Ningcheng had already fallen. Otherwise, why hadn't there been any news about him for so many years? As long as he took these four women, who knew what would happen? The only thing was that he couldn't let any of the four escape. Similarly, Ji Luofei and Yanji also knew that the fat monk's words were true, so they didn't dare to escape. Instead, they stared at the fat monk carefully. Is your husband really Ningcheng? Ling Xiaoshuang asked in surprise. She didn't continue to crush the escape talisman in her hand. Yanji nodded. Ningcheng is our husband. Senior sister, do you know Ningcheng? Yanji showed an expectant expression as she said the last sentence. Kaiji, who was standing on the side, curled her lips and muttered to herself. These experts really are playboys. This Ningcheng actually has two wives. Ling Xiaoshuang smiled slightly and didn't care about Kaiji's words. In the vast starry sky, as long as there were like-minded people, not to mention two, even if there were 7 or 8 of them together, they would still be an enviable couple. The reason why Kaiji said that was because the place where Kaiji lived was completely different from the vast universe. I really saw Dao Monarch Ningcheng. Not long ago, Dao Monarch Ningcheng succeeded in merging his realm, and fought with Dao Monarch Darkness. Ningcheng succeeded in merging his realm? The corner of the fat monk's mouth kept twitching as he asked subconsciously. When he first saw Ningcheng, Ningcheng seemed to have just created his realm not long ago. Now he had already merged his realm? When Ningcheng created his realm, he was far from being his opponent. Now he must have merged his realm because of the primordial Dao charm. With his cultivation, he probably couldn't even be crushed to death with a finger. Dao Monarch Ningcheng merged his realm. We saw it with our own eyes. How can it be fake? Kaiji snorted. She didn't like this fat monk at all. If Big Brother Yu was here, he would probably kill him with a slap. Her strength was still too low. She had to work hard to improve her cultivation. What was the result of his battle with Dao Monarch Darkness? The fat monk quickly stood up and asked again. Ling Xiaoshuang said faintly, "That's not a battle. Dao Monarch Darkness and Dao Monarch Ningcheng are too far apart." In just one move, Dao Monarch Darkness suffered heavy injuries and escaped. If Dao Monarch Ningcheng wasn't busy and couldn't leave, I'm afraid Dao Monarch Darkness would have long been removed from this universe. The fat monk sucked in a breath of cold air. Ningcheng's strength had indeed grown a lot stronger. Not to mention Ningcheng. Even that Dao Monarch Darkness could easily kill this monk. Should these two women move or not? If they didn't move, Ningcheng would definitely find out that he once wanted to take away his Dao companion. But if they moved, when Yanji and Ji Luofei heard that Ningcheng was here, they immediately wanted to stop Ling Xiaoshuang and Kai Ji to ask about it. But now that the fat monk was here, the two of them had to hold back. Seeing that the fat monk had some fear towards Ningcheng, Ji Luofei said in a cold tone, "What's wrong? Don't you believe that Ningcheng is our husband?" The fat monk's heart sank. How could he not believe it? Although the spear talisman that Yanji brought out just now was tender, it was obviously condensed by Ningcheng's spear intent. Ningcheng was sure that when he condensed this spear talisman, his strength wasn't high. Ningcheng finally retracted his gaze. If it weren't for these things, Lan Shu would never have left alone. He lowered his head and looked at the mini-axe in his hands. This axe was something that Lan Shu had left in his hands before she left. Why did she give him this axe? Ningcheng was very clear in his heart. Because this axe was refined from the true cosmic devil metal. Originally, it was Lan Shu who had brought him to the harvest smithy with a piece of the precious true cosmic devil metal. The true cosmic devil metal was a precious treasure in the Yixing mainland. Even if it was thrown on the ground here, no one would stoop down to pick it up. Lan Shu was telling him that her friendship with him was the same as it was in the beginning, and would never change. Just like this true cosmic devil metal, it would not change because of anything. Ningcheng carefully used his finger to drip a drop of essence blood on the mini true cosmic devil axe. With his current strength, to refine this low-leveled axe, he only needed to sweep it with his spiritual sense. But he still used the method that he had used to refine the true devil axe. Only in this way would he be able to recall the little bits and pieces of the past. Ningcheng's strength was just too strong. As soon as a drop of his blood fell on the mini-axe, the axe automatically became his. There was simply no need for him to refine it. Then Lan Shu's surprised voice arrived. "Younger brother Cheng, you are still the same as before. Elder sister Shu is really happy. In this world, not everything and everyone will change. At least I will not change, and at least you will not change either. You can use your essence blood to refine this true devil axe. Even if I don't meet you in the future, maybe I will come back to find you. I met Senior Shi Yiqing in the Grand Essence Ruins, and Senior Shi asked me to bring you a message." After Qianghua entered the samsara path to severing emotions, she never came out. Also, you have to be careful when you go there. Take care of yourself. The voice stopped abruptly. Qianghua entered the samsara path to severing emotions? Ningcheng felt surprised, and his first instinct was to chase after Lan Shu. But he quickly calmed down. If Lan Shu knew where the samsara path was, she would have definitely told him about it. Thinking of this, Ningcheng could no longer stay. With a single step, he stepped into the original chaotic inner realm through the void crack. He had to find Shi Yiqing as soon as possible, and ask Shi Yiqing to tell him where the samsara path was. The reason why Shi Yiqing didn't tell Lan Shu about the location of the samsara path, apart from the secret of the 9 revolving sacred Dao pond, was to see how determined he was to save Qianghua. Ningcheng had just stepped into the chaotic inner realm when he felt ecstatic. He also saw Luofei and Yanji here. Since Luofei and Yanji appeared here, they must have come to find him. Then he saw the fat monk and the spear talisman he had left for Yanji. Ningcheng immediately became furious and took a step forward. This fat monk had attacked him when he tried to snatch the primordial Dao charm. Ningcheng hadn't even settled the debt, yet he dared to stop Luofei and Yanji. It was simply courting death. Chapter 1487. While the fat monk pondered, Ji Luofei and Yan Ji didn't dare to move. Ling Xiaoshuang and Kai Ji, who stood in the void in the distance, clenched their escape talismans, ready to escape at any time. Before the fat monk made a decision, they didn't want to provoke this guy. The fat monk thought for half an incense stick worth of time, and finally made up his mind. He wanted to kill these 4 women, not take them away but kill them directly. If they were other women, he could take them back and enjoy them before killing them. However, he didn't dare to take away Ning Cheng's women. Not only did he want to kill these 4 women, but he also wanted to erase all traces of them. After doing this, he immediately left the chaotic inner realm. After so many years in the chaotic inner realm, he had already obtained everything he could. If he couldn't obtain it, even if he stayed for hundreds of thousands of years, it would still be the same. The only thing he had to do now was to find a secluded place to go into seclusion, and wait for the gate of good fortune to open. What does it have to do with me whether Ning Cheng is your husband or not? I don't know who Ning Cheng is. The fat monk spoke while raising his hand and sprinkling Buddha's light. Ling Xiaoshuang crushed the escape talisman almost the moment the fat monk sprinkled Buddha's light. She was still a step too late. Just as the Tao charm of the escape talisman was activated, the fat monk's Buddha's light suddenly blocked it. Ji Luofei and Yan Ji saw that the fat monk finally chose to make a move and immediately brought out their weapons. Ji Luofei, who brought out her weapon, didn't make a move. Instead, she looked at the void in the distance with surprise. As long as she was in the same plane as Ning Cheng, she could feel Ning Cheng's presence. At this moment, she clearly felt Ning Cheng's arrival. The fat monk also felt something wrong. Before he could react, a majestic aura rolled over. At this moment, it felt like the entire chaotic inner realm had turned upside down and blasted on his head, making it difficult for him to move. A powerhouse had arrived. At this time, the fat monk couldn't care about others. The Buddha's light that bound Ling Xiaoshuang's escape talisman instantly turned into a light blade and tore it back. He wanted to blast away the majestic aura that crushed him, and then leave immediately. Bald donkey, I haven't even settled accounts with you for plotting against me. Today you actually dare to plot against the people around me. Ning Cheng's voice came, and the fat monk felt as if he had been struck by lightning. The reason why he wanted to kill Ji Luofei's group of 4 was to silence them. He didn't expect that the person he was afraid of would come before he could silence them. Slap. Ning Cheng's Tao charm handprint slapped down, and the protective realm domain around the fat monk directly shattered. Then, a long spear blasted down from the void. While the fat monk was still in shock, Ning Cheng's good fortune spirit spear nailed him to the void. At this moment, there was only endless regret in his heart. If he had not hesitated, perhaps he would have killed the 2 women already. Or rather, if he knew that these 2 women belonged to Ning Cheng, he would have immediately left, and perhaps he would have been fine. However, he hesitated for a moment, and then made the decision to kill them. In the end, not only did he fail to silence the culprit, he even attracted the culprit. Even if he really had to face Ning Cheng, if he went all out against him, then maybe he would have a chance to escape. Unfortunately, he had already lost his courage. Suppressed by Ning Cheng's Tao charm aura, he didn't even have the chance to resist before he was nailed to the void. This was the most embarrassing moment he had ever experienced since he started cultivating. Husband. Ji Luofei's voice was a little choked up. She hadn't seen Ning Cheng for so many years. At first sight, she didn't even know what to say. Ning Cheng had already landed beside Ji Luofei and Yan Ji. He reached out and hugged the 2. Someone plotted against me in the chaotic inner realm and trapped me here. Ning Cheng didn't explain anything. Everything else was secondary. Ji Luofei and Yan Ji didn't speak anymore. No matter how many years had passed, it was enough to see Ning Cheng again. Time seemed to stop. Whether it was Ning Cheng, Ji Luofei, or Yan Ji, they all quietly enjoyed the joy of hugging each other, enjoying the reunion after a long time. At this moment, no one spoke. Ling Xiaoshuang and Kai Ji, who wanted to escape in the distance, also gave up after Ning Cheng arrived. Neither of them made a sound to disturb Ning Cheng. Instead, they waited quietly in the distance. Even the fat monk who was nailed to the void by Ning Cheng didn't dare to make a sound at this moment. Regret didn't help him. Instead, he was thinking about how to escape this disaster. Husband, let's go back. Ji Luofei's body softened in Ning Cheng's arms. She didn't want to be seen by others. I didn't expect you to reach Dao integration. Yan Ji has already reached the full circle of Dao integration. Ning Cheng felt the strength of the two and spoke with a tone full of surprise. The reason why the gate of good fortune hadn't opened yet was that Xingxi was still in seclusion. Once Xingxi came out and perfected the green lotus of good fortune, the gate of good fortune would open immediately. Naturally, the stronger the people around him, the better. Ji Luofei let out an sound from the tip of her nose. Yan Ji looked up, her pretty face blushing. Big brother, we can be together now. It won't affect us anymore. Ning Cheng naturally understood Yan Ji's meaning. He lowered his head and kissed Yan Ji's plump pink lips. His heart also felt a little fiery. Naturally, after I deal with this guy, we'll go back immediately. Seeing Ning Cheng finally stand up and face him, the fat monk quickly said, Dao Lord Ning, you misunderstood me. I have no intention of dealing with the two fairies at all. Otherwise, I wouldn't have waited for Dao Lord to come here. Despicable thing. You hesitated because you were worried that Dao Lord Ning could find you. Do you dare to say that you didn't hesitate because of this? Later, you decided to kill the four of us and suddenly attacked. If Dao Lord Ning hadn't come, I'm afraid you would have succeeded. Kaiji stepped down and spoke with sarcasm. Ning Cheng, seeing that Luofei and Yan Ji didn't explain, knew that it was true. He opened his hand, but before he could make a move, the fat monk understood Ning Cheng's meaning and shouted, Dao Lord Ning, you can kill me, but I'm the sixth Buddha under the Western Universe's Holy Buddha Chu-Pu. If something happens to me, the Holy Buddha will definitely investigate the reason. Yan Ji spoke with sarcasm. Do scum like you deserve to be called a Buddha? Don't pollute the word Buddha. Ning Cheng had never heard of any Holy Buddha Chu-Pu. Before the fat monk could finish the second half of the sentence, Ning Cheng's Dao charm appeared, and the good fortune divine spear fell into his hand. At the same time, he threw out a flame. The fat monk didn't even have a chance to reincarnate, and his spirit soul perished. No one could threaten Ning Cheng, not even the Holy Buddha he had never heard of. Clear Dream Temple's Ling Xiaoshuang thanks Senior for your help. Ling Xiaoshuang knew how terrifying the young man in front of her was, so she greeted him with a respectful tone. Even though Kai Ji called Ning Cheng a playboy, she didn't dare to act rashly in front of Ning Cheng. Which sex Kai Ji greets Senior Ning? Thank you for your help. Ji Luofei quickly said. We should be the ones thanking you. If you hadn't stopped us, the monk would have taken Yan Ji and me away. Yan Ji quickly explained to Ning Cheng, who quickly returned the courtesy. Thank you for your help. Let's treat each other as equals in the future. It's awkward to address each other as seniors. Ning Cheng had met Ling Xiaoshuang and Kai Ji before when he was trying to break through to the integration realm. However, the two of them didn't do anything from beginning to end, and Ning Cheng didn't mention it either. Upon hearing Ning Cheng's words, Ling Xiaoshuang and Kai Ji quickly returned the courtesy. Ning Cheng turned to Kai Ji and asked, Are you a witch sect disciple? I heard that witch sect disciples only cultivate their physical bodies and don't cultivate their spirit force. Your spirit force isn't weak. Although it's still at the perfected primordial chaos realm, it's not weaker than an ordinary early-stage Dao integration cultivator. Kaiji quickly said, A fellow villager of mine helped me. He helped me modify my cultivation technique, so that my witch sect cultivation technique could cultivate spirit force. So that was the case. Ning Cheng was sure that Kaiji's fellow villager was an amazing person. How could an ordinary person modify a witch sect cultivation technique to the point that it could cultivate spirit force? There's one more thing I want to ask the two of you. Do you know who Holy Buddha Chu-Pu of the Western Universe is? Ning Cheng had never heard of Holy Buddha Chu-Pu. Since the fat monk he killed was his subordinate, it would be a good thing for him to ask about him. Ling Xiaoshuang and Kaiji shook their heads. This is the first time we've heard of Holy Buddha Chu-Pu. Ning Cheng didn't ask anything else. Instead he said to Kaiji, You cultivate a witch sect cultivation technique. If you're not from the witch race, you have to be careful of people from the witch race. Once they learn that your cultivation technique can generate spirit force, I'm afraid they will take you away by hook or by crook. Also, you have to be careful. Don't casually say that you're from a witch sect. It won't do you any good. Thank you for your concern, Big Brother Ning. I heard that the sorcerer tribe's cultivation method can also be used to cultivate divine will. Also, the sorcerer tribe has produced a peerless genius woman. In less than 100,000 years, her strength is already not inferior to the 10 great Tao lords and the 5 great sacred lords. It is said that the witch race will no longer stay in the corner of the universe, and is preparing to return to their original place. Kai Ji thanked Ningcheng and told him the news she had heard. In less than 100,000 years, she could already compete with the 10 Tao lords. She was indeed a peerless genius. However, in Ningcheng's eyes, it was far from enough. Ningcheng smiled slightly. It's indeed not bad. Thank you for your help. Here are 2 of my spear talismans. You can use the spear talismans in the future. You can also bring the spear talismans to the 5 Grands Grand Essence realm, or the heavens beyond of heaven and earth to ask me for help. After saying that, Ningcheng took out the 2 spear talismans and handed them to Ling Xiaoshuang and Kai Ji. Then he took a step into the void and disappeared without a trace. Xiaoshuang, I guess Tao Lord Ning isn't much weaker than Big Brother Yi, Kai Ji said as she watched Ningcheng disappear. Ling Xiaoshuang looked at the spear talisman in her hand and put it away. She didn't answer Kai Ji's question directly. Instead, she sighed and said, Kai Ji, let's go. There aren't many good things here. Chapter 1488. It had been a few days since the starry sky will left the chaotic inner world. Therefore, Ningcheng's biggest worry was that Qin Mutian would find his way to the Grand Essence realm. When he heard Luofei say that Qin Mutian didn't go to the Grand Essence realm, Ningcheng finally felt relieved. Qin Mutian was extremely powerful. Before he stepped into the fusing realm, he didn't dare to say that he could deal with Qin Mutian. But now, Ningcheng no longer feared Qin Mutian. Even if he had just stepped into the Unity realm, he was confident that he could kill Qin Mutian. With Qin Mutian's ability, he should be able to obtain a primordial Tao rune. When he obtained the primordial chaos Tao runes, he had just created his realm. When Qin Mutian obtained the primordial chaos Tao runes, he had already merged his realm. Ningcheng had already refined and fused with the primordial Tao charm. Therefore, he naturally understood that treasures like the primordial Tao charm were best obtained as low as possible. Of course, the prerequisite was that you could control it. Even with Ningcheng's strength in the creation realm, he almost fell under the primordial mist Tao charm. Even if ordinary creation realm experts obtained the primordial Tao runes, they would probably die without anyone's help. Based on the situation after the chaotic inner realm opened, it was impossible for those with weaker cultivations to obtain the primordial Tao aura. Those that were able to obtain the primordial Tao aura were naturally top figures amongst them, so they probably wouldn't suffer a backlash from the primordial Tao. In Ningcheng's opinion, Qin Mutian hadn't gone to the Grand Essence realm yet. One possibility was that Qin Mutian didn't care about such a trivial matter at all. Secondly, Qin Mutian had yet to completely fuse with the primordial Tao runes. Regarding this point, Ningcheng had never doubted it. He had spent hundreds of thousands of years fusing with the primordial Tao runes, and he had almost perished under the primordial Tao runes. Of course, this was related to his injuries, but at the same time, his injuries were also an opportunity for him to speed up the process of heaven and earth decay. The starry sky will cut through one boundary after another in the void as it sped along at high speed. Ji Luofei and Yin Ji snuggled up to Ningcheng's side. Over the past few days, the 3 of them had never separated. My husband, how long more before we can return to Taisu? Ji Luofei's face was ruddy, and her Tao charm looked even more condensed. No one could tell that she had just reached Tao perfection. Over the past few days, Ji Luofei and Ningcheng had been spending a lot of time together. Ningcheng had fused with the primordial Tao charm and stepped into the amalgamation realm. This kind of benefit would naturally be shared with Ji Luofei. Not to mention Ji Luofei, Even Yanji, who had just become a married woman, also vaguely showed signs of stepping into the third step. Moreover, Ningcheng was trying his best to suppress it, to prevent Yanji from stepping into the third step so quickly. Yanji's understanding of the third step and Ningcheng's understanding of the third step were on a completely different level. Although Ningcheng had explained to Yanji that cutting down one's Tao and condensing laws to evolve a world was the strongest way to step into the third step. It was just that this great Tao was easy to talk about, but to do it was extremely difficult. Although Yanji had a lot of opportunities, but none of them were as heaven-defying as Ningcheng. Nor did she have a treasure like the mysterious yellow bead. Now that Ningcheng had stepped into the third step, he no longer needed the mysterious yellow bead. However, the reason why Ningcheng was able to reach this point was not because of his qualifications, but because of the mysterious yellow bead. Without a heaven-defying treasure like the mysterious yellow bead, even if Yanji knew that Ningcheng had cutting the Tao to create a realm, she wouldn't know where to start. Sister Luofei, didn't you say you wanted a child? Now I can take it. Yanji felt incomparably satisfied in her heart. She had never doubted Ningcheng's words. Ever since she left the Yan clan, she had never had such a comfortable and contented life. Instead of thinking about stepping into the third step, she naturally thought about something else. If not for wanting to step into the third step, she would have already rushed ahead of Luofei. After saying those words, she even thought about how cute the child would be once it came out. Luofei indeed wanted a child. But after hesitating for a while, she still spoke up. Husband, before we came here, Senior Shi Qianqi from the 9 Revolutions Sacred Tao Pond went to the mysterious yellow sect once. What did she say? Ningcheng hurriedly asked. He had always been thinking about Shi Qianghua, but because he didn't want to affect Ji Luofei and Yanji's happiness, he didn't say anything. He hadn't accompanied Luofei and Yanji for a long time. Although this time was nothing in the vast universe, he still felt guilty in his heart. What did he cultivate? Cultivating the heavenly Tao, standing alone in the clouds, and then living alone? Such a Tao was truly not something that Ningcheng pursued. His Tao was that wherever he was, the Tao would be there. He had never suppressed his own temperament and emotions. Therefore his existence, his Tao, was filled with all kinds of worldly emotions. Senior Shi said that Qianghua went to the Grand Change Realm's path of severing emotions and never came back. She wanted to ask you for help, but you weren't at home at that time. Ji Luofei explained. It turned out that the path of severing emotions and samsara was in the Grand Change Realm. Ningcheng decided to go to the Grand Change Realm to find Qianghua first before returning to the Grand Essence Realm. Luofei, Sister Ji, I plan to go directly to the Grand Change Realm. Before Ningcheng could finish, Luofei reached out and stopped him. She then said with a soft voice, Husband, how long will it take for us to return to the Grand Change Realm? Ningcheng calculated and said, 2 to 3 months. Ji Luofei and Yanji felt startled, and Yanji asked, if we didn't ride the starry sky wheel, wouldn't it take less time if husband crossed the void alone? Ningcheng nodded and said, yes, if I went alone, I would indeed come back in a shorter time. In fact, Ningcheng could send Ji Luofei and Yanji into the mysterious yellow bead, and then he could return to the Grand Change Realm in the shortest time. But for such a long time, he hadn't been together with Yanji and Luofei. It was just a little more than 2 months, yet he still had to rush back. It really disappointed the two of them. Ji Luofei suddenly spoke up, Husband, after you reach the Grand Change Realm, you can go directly to find Sister Qianghua. Sister Ji and I will return to the Grand Essence Realm and wait for you and Sister Qianghua. Why? Since we're already here, let's go together. Ningcheng looked at Ji Luofei in confusion. Ji Luofei showed a slight smile. I believe that husband will definitely find Sister Qianghua and bring Sister Qianghua back. We can just wait at home. There's one more thing. Ningcheng instantly understood Ji Luofei's meaning. That is, after he rescued Qianghua, she wanted him to accompany Qianghua. However, Luofei didn't say it out loud. If he couldn't save Qianghua with his strength, then it would be the same even if they went. Ningcheng raised his hand and took out a 7-colored glaze and a half-moon twin rings before handing them to Ji Luofei and Yanji respectively. These are 2 weapons that I refined before the chaotic inner world opened. I'll leave them for you to protect yourselves. Good treasures. When Ningcheng took out these 2 weapons, Ji Luofei and Yanji understood that they weren't ordinary treasures. With their current vision, they could naturally tell that these 2 treasures exceeded the category of top-quality spirit artifacts. Yanji grabbed the crescent moon twin rings and looked at it for a long time before giving out a sigh and speaking. If I had this treasure before, that fat monk might not have been able to imprison me and Luofei at once. Ji Luofei also reached out and grabbed the 7-colored glaze. After hearing Yanji's words, she spoke up to Ningcheng with some worry. Husband, you have to be careful of that sage Buddha Chu Pu that the fat monk mentioned. An expert like the fat monk is just a disciple in front of that person. This person definitely isn't someone to be taken lightly. Ningcheng hugged Ji Luofei tightly and chuckled. Don't worry. For that sage Buddha Chu Pu, I'm not someone to be trifled with. Ji Luofei's mood immediately improved when she heard those words. She raised her hand and held Ningcheng's hand. She never doubted Ningcheng's words. By the way, what was the other thing you told me before? Ningcheng thought back to what Ji Luofei had said before and asked. Ji Luofei's face turned red, and Yanji suddenly understood. Seeing Yanji about to speak, Ji Luofei quickly whispered into Ningcheng's ear. There are still 2 months left. Let's have a child. Yanji laughed, while Ji Luofei's face turned even redder. She had never spoken with such seductive words before, which made her feel unnatural for a while. 2 months later, Grand Change Realm. This place has really changed a lot. It looks like Bai Ling and Jie Xinshui didn't lie to me. They really want to make the Grand Change Realm a beautiful place. After Ningcheng landed in the Grand Change Realm, he swept out with his spiritual consciousness and immediately understood the changes in the Grand Change Realm. Ningcheng didn't plan to look for Bai Ling and Jie Xinshui. The Grand Change Realm's development was more complete than before, and there were no more messy forces. The law of the jungle was also a rare sight. Therefore, Ningcheng felt that it was all thanks to these 2 people. Since the Grand Change Realm and the Grand Essence Realm had gradually become similar, Ningcheng didn't plan to disturb the 2. His spiritual consciousness permeated every corner of the Grand Change Realm. With his current strength, as long as the Tao of severing emotions and samsara was in the Grand Change Realm, no matter how hidden it was, he could find it. Chapter 1489. Even for a Tao unification holy emperor, the Great Change Realm was vast and boundless. But for Ningcheng, his spiritual consciousness easily covered the entire Great Change Realm. Everything in the Great Change Realm appeared clearly in his sea of consciousness. He saw many acquaintances, even Xiang Dingtian, whom he had saved before. Unfortunately, he couldn't find any trace of Shi Qianghua in his spiritual consciousness. Ningcheng didn't give up and scanned the Great Change Realm with his spiritual consciousness again and again. He was sure that he didn't miss a single spot in the Great Change Realm. There were a few places where one's divine sense was isolated, but his divine sense also penetrated into them. In the end, he still believed that the samsara path of severing emotions wasn't here. Even if he didn't know what the samsara path of severing emotions was, Ningcheng could tell a thing or 2 from its name. Moreover, he had seen Shi Qianghua cultivate it. Since the samsara path of severing emotions was the place where the Tao charm of the 9 revolving sacred Tao pond reached the 3rd step, it definitely contained the Tao charm of the samsara laws. In fact, he hadn't seen such a place so far. Shi Qianghua was Shi Qianghua's mother. If the entrance to the samsara path of severing emotions wasn't in the Great Change Realm, Shi Qianghua would never lie about it. Thinking of this, Ningcheng calmed his mind and explored the entire Great Change Realm over and over again. When Ningcheng's spiritual consciousness swept through for the 17th time, his spiritual consciousness stopped at a grayish-white space in the northernmost corner of the Great Change Realm. His spiritual consciousness penetrated through this grayish-white space and found that it was a sea region in the Great Change Realm. The sea region was originally grayish-white in color, so there was nothing strange about it. However, Ningcheng vaguely felt a faint Tao charm from this grayish-white space. This Tao charm was somewhat similar to the Tao charm of the samsara Tao charm. Ningcheng's spiritual consciousness penetrated through it completely, and repeatedly checked it. After an incense stick worth of time, Ningqing stepped out of the void and landed in front of this grayish-white space. There was something strange about this place. What his spiritual consciousness observed was most likely an illusion. Behind this grayish-white space was indeed the sea on the edge of the Great Change Realm. After Ningqing repeatedly observed it, he vaguely saw that this grayish-white space was the sea. But if he felt the aura of the Dao charm, it wasn't the aura of the sea. The sea didn't have the samsara Dao charm. Ningqing raised his hand and tore it down, but a dull sound emerged. For the first time, Ningqing did not tear it apart. So powerful. Not to mention a realm boundary, even a positional plane could be torn apart by Ningqing's attack. This time, Ningqing did not tear this place apart. The only possibility was that the toughness of this grayish-white space was much tougher compared to the positional plane. Ningqing raised his hand for the second time and tore it down. This time he used almost 60% of his Dao charm power. A cracking sound emerged, and a passage appeared in front of Ningqing. The Dao charm aura coming from the passage contained some samsara Dao charm. Sure enough, it wasn't a sea behind him, but a space. Coupled with the slight Dao charm of samsara, Ningqing felt almost 100% sure that this was the 9 revolving sacred Dao Pon's path of severing emotions and samsara. Ningqing did not hesitate for even half a moment, and directly stepped into the passage. A powerful and majestic Dao rune aura surged within the passageway. These auras were very powerful, and the laws were very clear. If Ningqing had come here before stepping into the third step, he would have definitely been shocked by the majestic Dao charm aura here. Now Ningqing had not only stepped into the third step, but he had also stepped into the convergence realm. To him, the aura here was like a toddler learning to walk, which was quite ridiculous. Even if he succeeded in creating a world here, it would only be a little stronger than a pseudo-world. Even experts like Dao Monarch Celestial couldn't compare. In just a few breaths, Ningqing could clearly feel a trace of Qianghua's aura. Even after tens of thousands of years, Ningqing could still feel it. Ningqing's spiritual consciousness swept out unscrupulously, and the next moment, he saw Qianghua's figure a few hundred feet away. Sure, Qianghua's figure froze, just like a statue. Ningqing suddenly felt sluggish. He could clearly see that Qianghua didn't look like a statue, but had truly turned into a statue. Ningqing's eyes almost popped out of their sockets as he took a step forward and landed beside Shi Qianghua. His hands and feet, even his entire body were trembling. Qianghua had not only turned into a statue, but she also didn't have any soul aura. Was this the spiritual soul annihilation? The terrifying Samsara Dao charm aura swept over, and the Samsara Dao charm aura seemed to want to turn Ningqing into a statue. Die for me. Ningqing raised his hand and punched out. The powerful Dao charm aura that wanted to sweep him in and turn him into a statue dissipated under Ningqing's punch. As if sensing Ningqing's power, the terrifying Samsara Dao charm aura no longer dared to approach Ningqing. Ningqing fully understood why Qianghua had turned into a statue. When she crossed this place, the endless Samsara Dao charm aura suppressed her, causing her spirit soul to dissipate. The Samsara Dao charm then condensed her into a statue. The violence and anxiety slowly subsided. This was the place where the Samsara Dao charm was located. Why did Qianghua turn into a statue? Ningqing's trembling hand held Qianghua's cold palm, and his gaze fell on a huge white platform not far away. 3 words floated above the white platform: severing thoughts platform. With Ningqing's strength, with just a thought, he had already understood what was going on. Severing thoughts meant severing one's Dao intent, which was somewhat similar to the 9 revolutions sacred Dao Pon's severing of emotions. He had seen Shi Xiangjuan, who was older than the founder of the 9 revolutions sacred Dao Pond. Therefore, he knew that the 9 revolutions sacred Dao Pond also required severing emotions and samsara. The reason why Qianghua hadn't come here was that she hadn't severed the distracting thoughts in her heart. Ningqing recalled Qianghua's words before they parted. I've never had any thoughts about any man, but in my 9th life, I became husband and wife with you. I think I must have used my life to fall in love with you. Even if I severed the emotions of my 9 lives because of cultivation, I still couldn't sever this memory. I'm afraid that if I really stepped into the third step, I would no longer know who you are. Qianghua couldn't sever the feelings of being husband and wife with him in his ninth life, so she didn't want to sever this emotion. Therefore, the samsara Dao charm turned her into a statue, and she fell here. How much love can I have? It's the most precious thing in my 10 lives. I will never sever it. Ningqing suddenly felt Qianghua's inner confession at that time. Qianghua. Ningqing's eyes turned blurry. He knew that this wasn't Qianghua's thoughts, but Qianghua's obsession. He wasn't the luckiest when he obtained the mysterious yellow bead, comprehended the cutting Dao creation realm, or obtained the primordial Dao charm, and successfully merged with his world. Instead, he had Luofei and Yanji, as well as Qianghua's emotional obsession with him. Just like Yuqing, this was a woman who left an obsession in him. Ningqing looked at Qianghua's lifeless face and murmured, Qianghua, I once told you to remember that there's a love that doesn't enter samsara, regardless of time and space. No matter how strong the Grand Dao is, it can't sever it. If the Grand Dao can sever that love, then we can do it again. If the Grand Dao blocks us, then I will sever that Grand Dao. I didn't have that strength before, but today let me sever the Grand Dao that blocks us. Whether it's the vast universe or the supreme powerhouses, no one can stop me. Ningqing's initial voice was just a whisper. But as he spoke, his voice grew louder. In the end, his voice sounded like a morning bell and evening drum, rumbling endlessly within the samsara passage. Destroy for me. After saying this, Ningqing suddenly turned around and punched the cutting thought platform. The cutting thought platform contained the endless samsara distracting thoughts of the 9 revolutions, sacred Dao pond, had accumulated over the years. But in front of Ningqing's punch, the mind-severing platform was like a piece of paper, shattering into pieces. Ningqing's punch shattered the cutting thought platform, and the endless mottled distracting thoughts rolled up. Ningqing raised his hand, and the mottled and boundless distracting thoughts disappeared without a trace. A sharp and shrill voice emerged. Who are you? What does my 9 revolutions sacred Dao pond's emotion severing samsara Dao have anything to do with you? Do you want to destroy my cutting thought platform and my samsara Dao? The enmity of snatching someone's grand Dao is absolutely irreconcilable. Do you think that my 9 revolutions sacred Dao is easy to bully? Ningqing raised his hands and picked up the ice-cold Shi Qianghua, before speaking with an equally cold voice. This emotion-severing samsara Dao doesn't need to exist anymore, and neither do you. The place that turned my wife into a sculpture, I Ningqing will turn it into dust. Shi Qianghua is a descendant of my Shi clan. What does her life and death have to do with you? Even if she is your Dao companion, you are still a descendant of my Shi clan. How dare you bully the ancestors of my Shi clan? Ningqing spoke up with an even colder voice. Even Shi Xiangjuan doesn't dare to act in front of me. Who do you think you are? You are just an abandoned daughter left behind by Shi Xiangjuan. If it weren't for Shi Qianghua also coming from the same sect, Ningqing would have already cursed it out loud. Chapter 1490. You know my mother, who the hell are you? The shrill voice became a little clearer, but it still carried a hint of fear. Sure enough, Ningqing didn't guess wrong. With a snort, he casually swept up a surging Dao charm. After he smashed the severing thought platform, the reincarnation passage began to crack. Kaka sounds emerged, and the Dao charm in the passage began to shatter, causing everything to collapse. Stop! The trembling voice turned sharp again. Not only was it sharp, but it was also filled with fear. Stop! Ningqing sneered. No matter who the other party was to Shi Qianghua, he wouldn't stop even if he destroyed Shi Qianghua's spirit soul and turned her into a statue. Boom boom. The collapse of the reincarnation passage grew more and more intense. At this moment, not only did the Dao charm dissipate, but the passage also collapsed. Even the laws within it began to shatter. Please spare me. Leave my 9 revolving sacred Dao pond lineage. The voice knew that her strength was too far from Ningqing's and started to beg for mercy. Ningqing could clearly see that this remnant soul was hiding in a bronze mirror. Spare her? Ningqing not only wanted to destroy the 9 revolving sacred Dao pond's reincarnation passage, But he also wanted to destroy this mirror and the remnant soul within it. Boom! Ningqing punched out again, and the passage next to the mirror shattered. The bronze mirror fell down and floated in the void. There was a horrified image in the bronze mirror, and the image seemed to be begging for mercy. Ningqing guessed that this mirror was most likely the 9 revolving sacred Dao Pond's weapon. Even if it was the 9 revolving sacred Dao Pond, he wouldn't care about it. He still raised his fist, and the Dao charm wrapped around it. He was about to punch out. Just when Ningqing's fist was about to hit the mirror, he suddenly stopped and looked behind him. Now that you're here, say what you want. I don't have time to talk to you. Thank you, Dao Lord Ning, for showing mercy. An anxious voice was heard, and a slender figure appeared after the voice. Shi Xiangjuan greets Dao Lord Ning. As soon as the figure landed on the ground, she bowed and greeted Ningqing. Ningqing just nodded casually and didn't speak any nonsense. If nothing had happened to Qianghua, he would have given Shi Xiangjuan some face. But now that Shi Xiangjuan's illegitimate daughter turned Qianghua into a statue, how could he let it go? Even if Shi Xiangjuan came, he would still kill her. Shi Xiangjuan's realm hadn't changed, but Ningqing knew that her strength had more than doubled compared to when he first met her. Not only that, but the Dao charm around her had become more solid and clear, indicating that her future achievements would be even higher. It seemed that she had gained a lot in the chaotic inner realm. When Shi Xiangjuan saw Shi Qianghua in Ningqing's hands, she instantly understood why Ningqing was so respectful towards her before, and even addressed her as senior. The reason why people respected her was not because of her, Shi Xiangjuan, but because her descendants had a relationship with Ningqing. Now that the descendant of the Shi clan, who had a relationship with Ningqing, was injured by his daughter, it would be strange if Ningqing let it go so easily. She had experienced the treasure hunt in the chaotic inner realm, and had a clear understanding of Ningqing's situation in the chaotic inner realm. Not only did Ningqing snatch away a primordial Dao charm, but he also calmly retreated under the sneak attack of 4 peak powerhouses. Of. Lord. Cheng was that he, if she wanted to say, if Ning of Cheng of, if he if in and the woman he in. Ningqing was waiting for her to deal with this matter. If the woman in Ningqing's hand couldn't wake up, then no matter what Shi Tianhe said, it would be useless. After the shadow in the mirror saw Shi Xiangjuan, it suddenly stopped trembling in fear. Instead, it screamed in a vague voice, "Am I? Too much? What did you do to me? I'm just a remnant of your greed for a night of pleasure. You abandoned me for the sake of the great Tao. If it weren't for the sake of making up for your guilt, would you have left the 9 revolutions sacred Dao Pond to me? I swear that one day, I will tell you that no one cares about me. I can still step onto the supreme great Tao." Because of the excitement, the figure in the mirror became blurrier. Shi Xiangjuan's face turned pale. She raised her hand and shot out dozens of Dao charm auras to seal the bronze mirror. The image in the mirror gradually faded away. Shi Xiangjuan didn't say a word. Instead, she kept slapping it. Soon, the mirror changed and slowly turned into a pool surrounded by mist. This pool reminded Ningqing of the pool he had seen in the 9 revolutions sacred Dao Pond. Shi Xiangjuan's face turned even paler. After the 9 revolutions sacred Dao Pond appeared, she said to Ningqing, "Dao Lord Ning, what's her name? Give her to me." Ningqing understood what Shi Xiangjuan wanted to do. She wanted to retrieve Shi Qianghua's soul from the 9 revolutions sacred Dao Pond's weapon. Ningqing felt excited in his heart. He hadn't thought of this. Fortunately, Shi Xiangjuan came. Otherwise, even if he thought of this, he wouldn't have found a way to retrieve Shi Qianghua's essence spirit soul. Even if he suddenly controlled Shi Xiangjuan's daughter, it wouldn't help. Apart from Shi Xiangjuan, who could take back this mirror from her daughter without any accident, no one else could do it. The 9 revolutions samsara pond was almost equivalent to a part of Qiushi. Once he refined it or took control of it, any thoughts or soul within it would disappear. At that time, Shi Qianghua's spirit soul would truly perish. Her name is Shi Qianghua. After Ningqing finished, he carefully handed Shi Qianghua to Shi Xiangjuan. Shi Xiangjuan also carefully took Shi Qianghua. She could feel Shi Qianghua's position in Ningqing's heart. At this moment, she even felt a little envious. The reason why she abandoned everything to seek the great Tao was not only related to the great Tao she cultivated, but also to the man who abandoned her. Shi Xiangjuan forcibly cut off these messy memories and sent Shi Qianghua into the mist over the 9 revolutions sacred Tao pond. After the layers of mist wrapped around Shi Qianghua, Shi Xiangjuan kept blasting out hand seals. Although Ningcheng hadn't cultivated the 9 revolutions sacred Tao formula, his vision and understanding of the great Tao far surpassed Shi Xiangjuan's. After a few breaths, he understood Shi Xiangjuan's actions. Shi Xiangjuan was searching for Shi Qianghua's aura and Kanyang's soul aura within the 9 revolutions samsara pond. Although Ningcheng didn't continue, the Tao charm Ningcheng shot out before still affected the samsara Tao path. The samsara Tao charm and laws within the samsara Tao continued to shatter and collapse. On the 49th day, Shi Xiangjuan finally stopped her hand seals. She raised her hand and put Shi Qianghua into Ningcheng's hands. Tao Lord Ning, Qianghua's great Tao has been destroyed, but I still have the 9 revolutions sacred Tao. Ningcheng took Shi Qianghua and shook his head at Shi Xiangjuan, stopping Shi Xiangjuan from continuing. At this time, Qianghua still had her eyes closed, but she no longer looked like a cold sculpture. Instead, she had a trace of life aura. Her whole body also softened, but she didn't open her eyes. Ningcheng understood Qianghua's situation. Although Qianghua's soul had returned, it was severely damaged and needed nourishment. It was best to stay between heaven and earth, absorb the laws of heaven and earth, and then use a top-grade soul-nourishing treasure. For Ningcheng, he had many ways to nourish the soul. Shi Xiangjuan obviously knew that Ningcheng could do it better than her, so she didn't explain. Ningcheng sneered at Shi Xiangjuan's words about the 9 revolutions sacred Tao technique. Qianghua had experienced many hardships and almost died several times, all because she cultivated the 9 revolutions sacred Tao technique, a garbage cultivation method. Without the 9 revolutions sacred Tao technique, how could Qianghua have so many things to deal with? Many thanks, Tao friend Xiangjuan. As for the 9 revolutions sacred Tao technique, don't give it to Qianghua. Qianghua's foundation is now damaged, so I will give her another cultivation method. Shi Xiangjuan bowed to Ningcheng. Although she is a descendant of my Shi clan, Xiangjuan has the greatest responsibility for this matter. Xiangjuan doesn't dare to plead with Tao Lord Ning. If Tao Lord wants to take Qiuxi away, Xiangjuan will leave this 9 revolutions sacred Tao pond to Tao Lord. Ningcheng spoke up calmly. You arrived in time to prevent Qianghua's spiritual soul from perishing. I am already grateful to you. As for your unfilial daughter, you can take her back and raise her. Many thanks for Tao Lord Ning's magnanimity. Xiangjuan will take her leave. Shi Xiangjuan thanked him once again. She didn't come to the 5 grand worlds for her daughter, but to visit Ningcheng. She wanted to follow Ningcheng to the gate of good fortune. Now that something like this happened, even if she had thick skin, she wouldn't be able to bring it up again. Ningcheng ignored Shi Xiangjuan. He directly tore through the Grand Simplicity Void with Shi Qianghua and landed in the Grand Essence Realm. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.